Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto had full pleasure with White Fox Girl? Before we start, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Now enjoy the video. Hey everyone, this is my fourth fanfic. I'm going to be focusing on this more than the others, so expect weekly updates. Naruto was blinded as multiple flashes of light suddenly appeared around him. He was killed by an unknown assassin. He knew he shouldn't have trusted anyone, but he let his guard down when he was sleeping. The flashes of light materialized into monsters with different white masks and huge holes in their chests. Naruto could tell that they were all enemies, as they all looked at him. A hungry look in their eyes, as they dashed towards him. I don't care if I die again. I have no friends, no family. I will never be able to trust again. Naruto thought with his eyes closed, ready for the unimaginable pain that he would experience when he is attacked. But a sudden figure appeared in front of him. He had snow-white hair spiked up, wearing black robes and with a sword in his hand. Not to mention he was the same height as Naruto. Sit upon the frozen heavens, Hiranmara, Naruto's savior shouted, as he proceeded to slash and hack away at those vile beasts. Just seconds after he appeared, all those creatures were slaughtered by the single being. Are you alright? I'm a Shinigami, and my name is Hitsugaya Toshiro, and I'm the captain of the 10th Division in the Gote 13, Toshiro said. Yeah, I'm alright. Name is Uzumaki Naruto. What were those things that tried to attack me? Naruto asked. Those creatures are called hollows. They eat anything with high enough ryatsu. Say, how long were you dead to attract so many hollows? Toshiro asked. About an hour. I was assassinated by my own allies, or should I call them enemies? Naruto stated. An hour? Hold on. Let me get a ryatsu reading. Rangaku, give me a ryatsu reading on the new soul near me, after a few minutes. Hitsugaya heard Rangaku's reply. It's incredible, Captain Hitsugaya. Showing a reading of 847. Yours is only 1256, but you've been trained. I wonder, we should recruit him as a Shinigami right away, sir. Uzumaki-san, do you wish to be a Shinigami? If you do, you have to endure 5 years of Seirei Academy and pledge loyalty to our leader, Yamamoto-sama. Sure, but don't betray me. Lead the way to this, Seirei, place. Naruto said. Meanwhile, I need to do something. Can you please carry me to Seirei? I won't be conscious. Naruto said as his head dropped, showing him drifting into unconsciousness. Troublesome soul. Hitsugaya picked up Naruto and then with his sword, made a portal to go to Seirei. Meanwhile, in Naruto's mindscape, show yourself, furball, I know you're there. I've felt your presence within me ever since the hollows attacked me. Well, someone's a smart cookie, but don't think I'm all that evil. I shall help you in Seirei Academy, think of this as repaying you, as I was the reason you got assassinated. However, be careful. My presence may force your body to change. Kyuubi said as he pushed Naruto back into consciousness before Naruto could question him. Waking up, Naruto turned to see 2 lines surrounding a red carpet and an old man with a heavy-looking staff smiling to the boy. Good to see you're awake. I hear from Hitsugaya Taiko that your ryatsu is quite high for someone of your age, and that you want to be enlisted in the academy. Do you wish to become one? Yamamoto said, yes, Yamamoto-sama. Naruto said, thank you, Naruto. We now have yet another excellent Shinigami to be. I shall make the arrangements for the academy. You will be skipped to the 3rd grade, as the first 3 years are just basic knowledge. Yukitake Taiko can explain to you about the academy. Hello, Naruto. There are 6 years of which you will be attending the academy, but because you are starting your 3rd year, I will explain what you will be doing for this year, he said. The 3rd year is learning basic Kido spells and also Zanjutsu, which is sword fighting, also Hakuda, which is hand-to-hand combat. You will be assessed in these 3 major classes every 3 months, just to check if the students are up to date with their abilities. Hitsugaya Taiko, please go to the academy and sort out all the necessary paperwork for Naruto to be a student, Yamamoto said. Dismissed. Hope you guys liked it. Chapter 2. Hey everyone, hey, I'm back. Hope you liked the prologue. And by the way, there is a quiz at the bottom. Naruto was walking towards the dorm that he'd be staying in. Hopefully, he'd be with some nice people. He did think that the general was nice, but he still didn't fully trust anyone. After all, he died from trusting people. Arriving at dorm room 78, he knocked and waited, only to find a red-haired guy with tattoos on his face. He had a bit of muscle here and there. Looks like a hands-on sort of guy. I might actually get along with him. Looking around, he saw a short raven-haired girl who had a slim build. "What do you want?" the tattoo guy asked. "Renji. You should be more polite." "Hi, I'm Rukia and this is Renji. Nice to meet you," Rukia said, smiling. "Hey, the name's Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm new here. I'm going to be staying in this dorm from now on. Hope you guys don't mind," Naruto said. "Yeah, we're fine," Renji said. "Just unpack your stuff, class starts in 30 minutes. Zanjutsu class. So Rukia, what class do we have?" Naruto asked. "We have Zanjutsu first. Are you experienced with a sword?" Rukia said. "Yeah, when I was alive I used to have one, not very good though." "Well, at the moment, Renji is the best at sword fighting, but also the worst at Kido," Rukia said. Renji just ignored this, as he was thinking how Naruto just suddenly got to the 3rd year. Arriving at the training grounds, Naruto briefly introduced himself to the class, and the teacher gave him a wooden sword. "Students, today is assessment day. Please gather in a line and get ready to fight me," the teacher said. As Naruto was new, the teacher gave him a chance to skip his assessment, but Naruto refused to the teacher's surprise, saying that he wants to prove to everyone that he is not scared of anyone. "Abarai, Renji. You're up," teacher yelled, as Renji cockily walked towards the teacher. He stopped after a few steps, and got into a fighting stance, where his right arm had the sword parallel to his face and his left arm behind his back. His legs were not too far, nor too close. Naruto saw him tensing up, as all the muscles in his body bulged. Renji then ran towards the teacher with both hands on the hilt of the wooden sword which was on his right. He then swung his sword at the teacher, which his sensei blocked, so he quickly lowered his sword to sweep the teacher off the floor. The teacher anticipated his move, and had jumped, whilst his sword behind him, allowing him to be ready for a direct hit. It was then when Renji smirked. He did the fastest 360 rotation Naruto ever saw, and parried the teacher's blow. The next 3 minutes were all random swings from both fighters and were all equally blocked off by the other. The teacher saw an opening on Renji's left shoulder, but Renji did it purposely to get a blow on the teacher's rib cage. Just before the hit, the teacher stopped the wooden sword with his hand. "Stop, Renji. Your Zanjutsu is at an excellent standard. You attacked places where it would be fatal if it hit, and your strategy was good, especially when you rotated yourself to gain enough momentum and strength to block my overhead swing. You pass with flying colors." "Thank you, sensei," Renji said. "Is there anyone who wants to volunteer, or do I have to choose?" After this was said, the teacher sighed, knowing that no one would raise their hands. He anticipated this really, it happened every time, but it was still worth a try. About the call-out Rukia, he saw the new student Uzumaki Naruto with his left hand up, and holding the sword with his right. His eyes were burning with determination as the teacher saw his arm and leg muscles tense and slightly bulge, but not as much as Renji's. "Okay then Uzumaki. Come here and get ready." The blue-eyed blonde calmly walked towards his new sensei, and got into the stance that he was taught when he was a shinobi. It was just like Renji's, but instead of holding the sword in his right hand with the tip pointing to his left, he held it directly above his head, tip pointing towards the target, the teacher. His left hand reached in front of him, giving the teacher a gesture of, "You go first." The teacher knew it was what he wanted, but he still complied. After all, new students weren't usually good at Zanjutsu until some practice. Charging in, he found Naruto disappearing and reappearing behind him. However, this time, Naruto was running towards the teacher. Eyes only focused on his sensei, sword reared back as he prepared for a big strike, only to be blocked. Cursing in his mind, he mimicked Renji, and rotated, but because Naruto was extraordinarily fast, he managed 3 rotations before his swing. The result was devastating as the teacher was struck on the arm, but luckily it wasn't his sword arm. All the other students' eyes popped out and their jaws dropped. This new kid hits the teacher on his first day, when Renji, I can't even hit the teacher. The teacher made up for his blow, as he relentlessly swung against Naruto, wanting to test the new guy's full ability. Blow after blow, block after block. Naruto eventually was exhausted at blocking so many hits, but the teacher was only sweating. How much more stamina has he got compared to me? Naruto thought. Enough Uzumaki, that was good. I never would have thought that you could have handed a hit on me. Even Renji didn't. I grade you an excellent, same as Renji, as his strategy made up for your hits, the teacher said. Ding. 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 The class is over. The assessment will continue throughout recess and lunch. Whoever hasn't been assessed must come. Dismissed. Hey Naruto, Renji, great match. Naruto, I never would have guessed you're on the same level as Renji, but you better watch out, I'm the best at Kido, which we've got next. Luckily, our assessment is next week. You better get prepared. Rukia said as she walked on ahead. Naruto, how did you get so fast, and how did you think of spinning like me in the heat of a battle? Renji asked, speeding up his steps trying to match Rukia. I usually think well under pressure or situations like battling. I'm fast because when I was still alive, I was chased every day, so that made me very fast. So let's go to the next class, I'm itching to try out Kido. Naruto said as he ran towards the direction Rukia was in. Kido class. In Kido class, Naruto only introduced himself to the teacher, as the class already knew him from Zanjutsu. Listen up class. Today we are going to learn 3 spells. After this, the class immediately turned silent and focused. Everyone was itching to learn new spells. The first spell will be Binding Spell. Restraint. The second and third will be a more destructive spell called Hado. Red Flame Cannon, and the third will be Hado. Blue Fire Crash Down. We will be learning Restraint first, as it doesn't need a chant. Just focus on keeping something or someone in place. I will be the guinea pig for only this spell. Line up and begin, the teacher ordered. Surprisingly, Rukia was first, and she started concentrating her Ryatsu into her hands and then yelled, Binding Spell, Restraint. The teacher suddenly felt quite a lot of weight onto her back, and was forced to crouch. An excellent first time try, Rukia. Next time use about double the amount of Ryatsu you just used and you will have successfully completed the first spell. The other students murmured quietly amongst themselves. Something about Rukia always get it right. Slowly, the line got shorter and shorter, and most people were quite good with the spell, but Rukia was still best. Ah Barai, I hope you've been working hard on your Kido, it seems to need a lot of work. Angrily, Renji walked towards his sensei and with a cry of, Binding Spell. Restraint. The other students watched as Renji restrained himself. Nice try Renji, but next time, use it on someone else, not yourself. The teacher said, holding in her laughter. Next, new kid, Naruto. Uzumaki. She barked. Likewise with Zanjutsu, Naruto was determined to successfully do this Kido. He remembered the teacher's advice to Rukia, and put extra Ryatsu into the Kido. The people around him could literally feel the Ryatsu around. Figuring it wasn't enough, Naruto decided to pump more, unaware of some students choking. Finally he released all the Ryatsu built up whilst saying, Binding Spell. Restraint. To his amazement, nothing happened to the teacher, until there was a large crash. The teacher had been forced to the ground so forcefully that the wooden floor broke and splinters flew everywhere. Release the spell Uzumaki, the teacher yelled. She was very uncomfortable. Naruto did release the spell and was quite amazed at his progress with Kido on his first day. It just kept getting better and better. I might like it here in Seirei. He thought. That was an excellent performance of the spell, but you need to limit your Ryatsu output. Students were getting a lack of air due to your Ryatsu flooding the room, which dissipated the oxygen. Be careful. Class dismissed. She yelled as all the students scurried to get their belongings and run away. Here, CH2. Hope you guys enjoy. Quiz. Should Naruto's Zanpakuto be? Choose 2, Fire. Sun, Lightning, Wind, Moon, Water. Chapter 3. Hey everyone. Hey, thanks for all the reviews. The quiz is still in effect and Naruto will get his Zanpakuto in CH 4 or 5 or 6. Thanks. Read and review. By the way, I won't include Hado chants. I'm sure you readers don't want me to waste valuable word space for something not very special. Quiz stats. Fire 0, Sun 4, Lightning 1, Wind 1. Moon 4 Water 0 Hakuda class. Morning students. Since we have an extra hour because the Zanjutsu training facilities are getting repaired, we'll be learning Ho-Ho. Step method. Ho-Ho in the future can be used to move at very high speeds, which are capable of dodging the most lethal attacks. Shinigami use something called Shunpo, Flash Step, which is the highest level Ho-Ho can go. We will only be practicing Ho-Ho half of the time, and the other half will be normal hand-to-hand combat. Any questions? The teacher asked. Can you please explain Shunpo in a detailed way? Naruto asked, beating Renji and Rukia to the question. Well, Uzumaki was it. Shunpo is only achieved when you have the maximum speed you can attain in Ho-Ho. The speed of a Shunpo mainly relies on your control of Ryotsu, but the more Ryotsu you have, the more Shunpos you can do. Both control and capacity is necessary for doing a successful Shunpo, he said. Now class, we will be doing Hakuda first, so pair up and don't go for vitals. Surprisingly, Renji paired up with Naruto and Rukia paired up with a small shy girl called Hinamori Momo. Momo was in every way opposite to Rukia, except height, but still, she was taller than Rukia just by a little bit. With Naruto and Renji made the first move, and Naruto was forced to go on the defensive. Renji kept keeping Naruto on his toes, and managed to just scrape Naruto's leg with a medium-powered kick. Utilizing Renji's hesitation after he scraped Naruto's leg, Naruto started to counter-attack, and keep Renji on the defense. However, Naruto decided to experiment with something. He had a hunch that Shunpo was quite similar to the Shunshin back in Konoha, just replace chakra with Ryotsu. So he jumped, and sent a burst of Ryotsu to his legs, giving him a teleportation effect, and allowing him to appear behind Renji. Renji was unaware of this whole thing, and simply turned around, ignoring Naruto's near-successful Shunpo, and continued attacking. Smirking, Naruto Shunpo ed again, but this time it wasn't as successful as the one before, and he only half-teleported, resulting in him crashing into Renji. Renji quickly pushed Naruto away as he charged towards him. Renji threw out his fist, aiming to hit Naruto's arm, but Naruto blocked it with his palm, and this time Shunpo ed successfully behind Renji and hit him on the back, winding Renji. By this time, the two had gathered a large crowd, composing of their classmates and a very surprised teacher. Usually third years don't fight as well as Renji and Naruto, but they're fighting at the level of fourth years, nearing fifth. Not to mention Rukia and that shy girl. Momo could give my fourth years a run for their money, the teacher thought. Afterwards, Renji and Naruto called it quits, since both were tired and needed to recover some energy to practice Ho-Ho, not that. Naruto needed practice anyway. He basically used Shunpo, or a toned-down Shunpo, but nevertheless, he used a Shunpo. Alright kids, listen up. Take a break for 10 minutes, and we'll start practicing Ho-Ho. 10 minutes later. Ready kids? Now Ho-Ho focuses on your speed and reflexes. Since Naruto already has the grasp of Shunpo, he will be just practicing that, whilst the rest of you must run 20 laps around this room. Same speed all the way, no slacking. Off you go. The teacher literally had barked his orders. Uzumaki, you just focus on performing the Shunpo. I might have to speak to Yukataki Taiko about your progress. Naruto found an empty space and just started practicing Shunpo. It wasn't that difficult to him, as he did manage to get the basic knowledge down in the battle he had with Renji. However, he was having trouble with teleporting to far places. It wasn't much of a problem to Shunpo about 2 to 5 meters away from him, but more than 6 meters would result in Naruto losing his concentration on the Shunpo and become disorientated. But he still had a long way to go before mastering Shunpo, so he decided to just revise on what he did on his 2 days at the academy. Ding! 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 The bell had rung again. The class was soon empty and Renji and Rukia were just pestering Naruto with their questions. How did you do Shunpo? Renji, how strong are you really? Rukia. Can you teach me? Renji and Rukia said simultaneously. There was a technique similar to Shunpo that I could use when I was alive. I don't know how strong I am. I can't teach you but I can only give some tips. I'm not willing enough to hand all my secrets down. Sorry guys. And with that said, Naruto sped off to their dorm. Shunpo really took a toll on his body. Time skip of 1 year, the 3 Naruto, Renji and Rukia were in their 4th year, and boy, were they excited. This year they were told that they'd be taught the basics of Shunpo, new fighting stances and at least 10 to 20 new Kido spells. They had earned quite a reputation amongst the teachers, students and most of all, the Shinigami. Especially the mysterious Uzumaki kid who could do Shunpo. Naruto had become a prodigy, he was just that hard-working and determined. It wasn't that other kids weren't, but Naruto trained day and night, sun or rain. No matter what, he trained. He strived to become stronger, so that one day he could become a captain. That was his dream for now. Heading towards Kido training grounds, the three put extra speed in their steps, hoping to get to class quickly before their teacher explained how to perform the new Kido spells. Rushing in, they were just in time to hear the teacher's explanation of the first spell they would learn. Okay class, today we're only learning 2 spells, but both are extremely useful in battle. It's called Hado. Total Darkness. To perform the spell, you must channel your Ryotsu into the air and try and convert it into darkness. Doing this successfully will blind your opponent and gives you some time to recover, retreat or regroup in a battle. Just as the teacher finished explaining, all the students ran off to find a wide space to practice their new Kido spell. Sudden shouts of Hado. Total Darkness were heard all over the academy, as this class's students were very enthusiastic about learning new techniques. Actually, everyone was enthusiastic if they were going to learn a new technique. Minutes later, a black fog was emerging out of one of the students. Most of the classmates turned to Naruto, as he had the reputation of being a prodigy, a fast learner, or more literally, a sponge, but instead of absorbing water, he absorbed knowledge at double or even triple speed than the other students. Not to mention that whenever he learns something new, he strives to master it fully until he uses it in battle, unless he wants to experiment with the technique. However, the black fog wasn't coming from Naruto, as he still had his eyes closed. If you really focused on him, you could see a faint blue aura surrounding him. The students turned to Rukia next. If it wasn't the prodigy, then it must be the second best at Kido. Rukia. But she was still having trouble with the Hado spell. So who was generating the black mist? Many people looked around, but saw nothing except other students trying to identify the one successful student who managed to perform the spell on her first try. Another shout from a certain tattoo-ed man with red hair solved the mystery. But he was supposed to be the worst at Kido. How could he possibly manage a weak version of the real spell on his first try? Good job, Renji. It's good to see you're not slacking in Kido. However, I'd like to know how exactly you managed to get a black mist on the first try, the teacher said with praise. Well, I found out when I fight, if I layer some Ryotsu on top of my skin, like a protective layer, it could be used to strengthen my hits, and soften the damage done to me. So I figured that if I could convert the protective layer into black mist, and keep repeating it, it could generate a weaker version of the spell, creating a black mist. Just as he finished explaining, 2 explosions of black surrounded everyone, but it wasn't like Renji's fog, it was the real thing. No one could see. Hado. White light. The teacher shouted, exterminating the darkness with his own advanced Hado spell. The students were mesmerized at the sheer power of the teacher's Hado, able to dispel the darkness in an instant. Naruto, Rukia, I see you've figured the Hado out for yourselves, Renji said. Of course Renji, but I used a huge burst of Ryotsu, and compressed it until it was small enough to be converted into the darkness. However, this took shorter time than your method, as you had to drag, convert, until you had enough to make a black fog. Naruto explained. Naruto's idea was good, but I did exactly the same thing as Renji, except I converted the Ryotsu into darkness below I let it out, so I could fire small blasts of it to blind an opponent. Rukia said, significantly proud of what she thought of. You three sure are smart. Even I couldn't have thought of that unless I analyzed the technique thoroughly. Now that everyone knows the basics behind the technique, I'm moving on to the second Hado that I'll be teaching you today. It is called Hado. Freezing Burst. To perform it, you must convert your Ryotsu into ice, and then use some extra Ryotsu to propel it at a target. We will be going to the target grounds. The teacher explained. They arrived at the target grounds, and made lines of 4 for each target. Everyone performed this technique well, after Renji, Naruto and Rukia's explanations of conversion. Surprisingly, those who specialized in Kido, or were better in Kido than anything else found Rukia's method easier. Those who were better in Hakuda or Zanjutsu than anything else found Renji's method easier, but no one used Naruto's method, as his used up too much Ryotsu, but to Naruto, it was nothing at all. However, when it was Naruto's turn at hitting a target, he missed. Which shocked everyone, but it was actually because Naruto lost his footing. One person yelled, "You're supposed to be a prodigy and you can't even hit a still target? Even I'm better." This pissed Naruto off very much, as to show his anger, he used something that he'd be meaning to try out on a guinea pig. "You're going to see something special," Naruto yelled. Naruto. Hado. Combination of two flames, and as he yelled, he shot a red flame cannon and a blue fire crashed down from each hand in hell. Were they big when they merged? It was like a giant tornado but crashing into a student. "I think you should know never to piss me off," Naruto said, as he turned away and practiced the freezing burst again. The next sequence of Naruto's Hado, all managed to pulverize the target into oblivion. Ding! 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 "I guess it's time for Zanjutsu," Naruto yelled as he sped off to Zanjutsu, his favorite class. Chapter 4. Hey, thanks for all the reviews, comments and everything from you, the reader. Hey, thanks for all the reviews, comments and everything from you, the reader. These supportive comments make me update faster. Smiley face. Quiz stats. Fire 0, Sun 7, Lightning 1, Wind 2. Moon 7, Water 0. Right now, Sun and Moon are in the lead. Zanjutsu class was actually quite interesting despite the fact that there wasn't much action. The teacher basically taught the class some advanced Zanjutsu fighting stances, but the one that made Naruto concentrate extra hard on was the counterattack stance. To get into the stance, you must cross your arms in front of you, have your legs evenly spread apart, and focus Ryotsu on your knuckles, back and feet. This stance was widely ignored by the rest of the class, but Naruto memorized it and stored it somewhere in his brain. Usually stances that other people have no interest in are the stances that carry the most potential in fighting. Or Naruto could just improve the stance to his liking, and then he'd had a new sword fighting stance. "Okay now, everyone choose a stance and show me," the teacher said, as everyone got into the stances that they chose. No one at all, apart from Naruto, picked the counterattack. It may have sounded cool, but the stance was weird. Those suckers don't know how much potential this stance has. Naruto though, as he got into his stance. After the teacher's inspection of stances, he started talking. "I predicted that most people would choose the stances that suited your fighting style, but why did only one person choose the counterattack?" "Because it doesn't look cool," a student shouted. "Because it looks stupid," another shouted. In the end, everyone besides Renji, Rukia and Naruto were shouting out why they hated the stance. "Quiet. What stupid reasons you give me. In the wild, your enemy is not going to not kill you if you look cool. Or teammates wouldn't kill you for looking stupid, if you're stronger than them." The teacher just exploded. He was expecting people to look at the strategic and strengths of the stances, but instead they all chose the ones that look cool. Only Renji, Rukia and Naruto chose stances that fit their style. "Now that we don't have much time left, this is your homework. You are going to fight me next week in the stance that you chose. I have recorded what stance you chose, so if you switch, you fail," the teacher shouted. Dismissed. Just when they left the building, Rukia asked Naruto, "Hey Naruto, how did you combine two Hado spells together?" "It's a secret, Rukia. I'll give you a hint though." "Nah, I won't," Naruto said. "Why do you never tell us how you do stuff?" Renji yelled. "Because then all my secrets will be gone. Why do you always expect things to be handed to you on a silver platter? You two don't even practice that much. I work hard for all my techniques, combinations, and more, but you guys just expect me to give everything I've worked hard for to you in an instant?" Naruto exploded and ran off, hoping catch some shut-eye. "Do you think he's right?" Rukia asked. "No way. I bet you he's just sour from when I beat him in Kido. He'll come back eventually." Renji smirked. At the dorm, back inside the dorm where Naruto, Renji and Rukia lived, Naruto was on his bed thinking about new combinations. He thought it might calm him down. Flashback. Damn. Why can't I get the combinate ion down? Naruto asked himself for the 10th time. Every time he tried to combine Hado. Red flame cannon and Hado. Blue fire crashed down. It ended up exploding just when they joined. Naruto couldn't get it. He made a red flame cannon in his right hand. No explosion. He made a blue fire crash down in his left hand. No explosion. He fires them. No explosion. They touch each other. Bang. Maybe if I keep feeding each Hado with Ryotsu continuously, it won't explode because there is an even balance. Whereas before, I expected them to merge in mid-air. Naruto said, time to try. He tried this new theory, and it proved to be correct, only that when he fed it more Ryotsu, the purple ball started getting larger and larger, and its color was starting to lighten, until bang, boom, Naruto was flung away 10 meters. And that was only of the shock, not the blast. So the lighter the color, the more chance of an explosion on the user instead of an enemy. I finally figured it out, Naruto thought, as he happily walked back to his dorm. End flashback. After this thought, Naruto went to sleep without a worry, not hearing the sounds of Rukia and Renji coming in and Renji's snoring or Rukia's sleep talking about rabbits. Time skip 3 months. The trio had really come a long way since starting the academy. Rukia still exceeded in Kido, but her Zanjutsu and Hikuda skills were not something to be laughed at. She even troubled Renji and even Naruto sometimes in spars, but her skill and experience were still not up to Renji's and Naruto's level. However, her Ryotsu control was excellent, and she could use less Ryotsu, as her control made up for the lack of it. Renji, however, was the exact opposite of Rukia. Strong at Zanjutsu and Hikuda, above average at Kido. However, he was quite creative with his Kido, but once in a while, his control will mess up, resulting in a scorched face. His Ryotsu control wasn't great, but he could still have a good Kido here and there. Now Naruto was on a whole different level of skill. Renji may be up to par with him in Zanjutsu and Hikuda, but Naruto was just so much faster than him. His Kido was outstanding as well. Being the top at everything would make people think that he was a show-off, arrogant prick and the like, but on the contrary, he was the most optimistic and determined person ever. Naruto found Ryotsu easier than chakra to control, and therefore had great control, albeit not as good as Rukia's, but better than Renji's. Although he was a Ryotsu monster, he just had Ryotsu flowing off him when he used a little bit. The three had grown to be best friends, but still didn't share a secret. Renji and Rukia decided that each person should be decent enough to let another keep their own fighting style and techniques to themselves. After this was settled, many would have thought that their friendship wouldn't have lasted very long, but Renji, Rukia and Naruto proved them all wrong. It was now the last month in their 4th year, and boy were they excited. Next year, they'd get their Zanpakutos. In everyone's spare time, they'd just talk with their friends about what kind of Zanpakuto they'd get. I hope my Zanpakuto is strong and suited with my style, Renji said. I hope mine has something to do with my precious rabbits, Rukia squealed. I hope my Zanpakuto can be used for destruction and healing. To protect the precious, to destroy all evil, that will be my goal, Naruto said with his eyes having a faraway look. Renji and Rukia were going to ask Naruto about his life when he was alive, but decided it was not the time. Hey you guys, I just remembered. Yukitake Taiko announced that next year we'd be able to slay practice hollows. Isn't that great? Renji exclaimed. Yeah. Naruto said as he remembered the hollow that appeared and attacked him just after he died. Its mask was a bright white, but its body was all black. Its arms and legs were all muscular and had fur on them. And that perfectly shaped hole in their chest, what was that for? Naruto couldn't forget his first experience with it. It had a bloodlust feeling, like it was just dying to feed on Naruto's Ryotsu. It was just like killing intent. Yo Naruto, you alright? You spaced out for a moment, Rukia said, as she waved her minuscule arms in front of Naruto's face. Yeah, sorry about that guys. I'll be going ahead to our dorm. CYA, Naruto said as he shunpo'd off. What's his problem? Oh well. Rukia, do you want to spar? Renji asked. Sure, but no fatalities, Rukia replied, and they both used a very weak version of shunpo to speed themselves up. Let's start, Renji yelled when they just got to a clearing. He quickly took out his sword from the sheath and wildly slashed at Rukia. Rukia just parried the blows with one hand, letting her sword take the brunt of the impact, and with her other hand, she chanted the Hado red flame cannon and charged it in her hand, to power it up. Rukia then fired the red flame cannon to where Renji was going to appear next, but he dodged at the last second and flipped behind, narrowly avoiding Rukia's stab. You've gotten better, but I've been practicing my Kido, and you're no match for it," Renji yelled. "Hado!" Blue fire crashed down. He shouted with no chant. This stunned Rukia, and her body moved at the last second. "Shit, I'm injured," Rukia thought. Rukia started layering her outer body with a thick layer of Ryotsu, and started her counterattack. She sliced, stabbed, punched, kicked and even used Kido. But the only injury Renji got was 2 grazes on his left shoulder and being burnt by Rukia's own blue fire crashed down. Although Renji's injuries were worse than Rukia's, his stamina was higher, so he could still keep up. He started his assault again, but he aimed for Rukia's legs, as if he could disable even one of them, he would obviously win. Renji's slashes were stronger than when they started fighting, and Rukia didn't know why. How can he get stronger in the midst of a battle? Rukia thought. Damn it. As she also pushed herself beyond her limits, and started swinging her own sword ferociously. Minutes went by. Hours went by. And they were still sparring. They didn't even realize it was getting dark until Naruto stopped their fight by swinging his sword to block both Rukia's and Renji's strikes. "Come on Renji, Rukia, it's time to go back to the dorm. It's getting darker and darker," Naruto said. "Yeah, let's call this a draw, shall we Rukia?" Renji suggested. "Yeah, I agree," Rukia replied. After that, Renji and Rukia fell asleep easily, but Naruto was still awake. "I wonder what abilities my Zanpakuto will have. Oh well, I'll find out next year, though." End. Read plus review. Chapter 5 Quiz Stats. Hey everyone, thanks for the hits, reads, and reviews. Quiz Stats. Fire 0, Sun 9, Lightning 1, Wind 2, Moon 8, Water 0. Eclipse 4. Now, I promise that whatever is in the lead I will put in Naruto's Zanpakuto, but if you may not like an element that I put in it, that's your problem. I'm only here to share my story to others, and I will not change a plot just because of 1 to 3 people. Thanks. Also, 2 people have suggested that if Sun and Moon are the ones I use, that I make them able to fuse with each other to make Eclipse. Give me your views on this new element. It was another day at Seirei Academy, but today was special. As today, the 4th years got to watch the 5th years get their Zanpakutos. Their Zanjutsu teacher led the 4th years to the 5th floor where the 5th years were. Walking inside the room, one could see all the 5th years paying so much attention to their teacher that if someone farted they wouldn't be able to tell. Okay class. Today is Zanpakuto Day, and you'll each be entering a room that has a Zanpakuto machine loaded with Seirei's best metals that will make you your own Zanpakuto. You will be called one by one, and in roll order, the 5th year teacher said. The 5th year teacher had a certain strict aura around him, with his intimidating eyes, his gray beard being stroked by his right hand and his left hand was on a cane, giving him a scary look. The 4th years watched the 5th years one by one lining up outside the special room that contained the Zanpakuto machine. And one by one, the 5th years came out of the room. Each with a similar shaped sword, but all were unique. After all the 5th years had gotten their Zanpakutos, their instructor continued to explain the Zanpakuto. Having a Zanpakuto in the sealed form, which is the normal form, is not the strongest. It has 2 more forms called the Shikai, which you need to learn the name of your sword to call it in battle to aid you, and Bankai, which drastically increases your power. The fastest someone has ever gotten their Shikai is 2 years, from Hitsugaya to Shiro. The fastest someone has ever mastered their Shikai is 15 years after obtaining their Shikai, and still by Hitsugaya to Shiro. Fastest getting Bankai was 6 years by Yukitake Taiko and Kiraku Taiko, both having dual Zanpakutos, which is incredible. But Yamamoto Taiko mastered his Bankai in only 34 years, beating the person after him by 28 years. The teacher said. The students now muttered amongst themselves. I can't wait until I get my Shikai and Bankai. Most of them said quite loudly. Class is over now. Everyone is dismissed. The intimidating man yelled as everyone scurried out of the classroom, not wanting to anger the short-fused teacher. Back in their Zanjutsu class, their teacher proceeded to explain the history of the Gotei 13's Zanpakutos. Listen up students. After observing the 5th years getting their Zanpakutos, the teacher said and immediately the students started paying attention. I thought that I should educate you all on the Zanpakuto Shikai history of the Gote 13 that I know there's Zanpakuto information on. The teacher continued. The captain of all captains Yamamoto Genryusai's Zanpakuto's name is Ryujinjaka, Flowing Flame Blade. It is well known throughout all of Rukongai that it is the strongest fire-based Zanpakuto. To perform his Shikai, he says Banshu Izaya Kaijin to Nace, disintegrate all existence. Ryujinjaka. Now the second captain Soi Fong, she was the best student of the goddess of Flash, Yoruichi. Her Zanpakuto name is Suzumaki, Sparrow Hornet, which is capable of killing you in 2 consecutive hits of the same place. To awaken this deadly Zanpakuto, she says Jinteki Shikasetsu, sting all enemies to death. Jin Ichimaru is quite secretive and not many people have seen his Shikai or Bankai, so we'll just skip to the 4th captain, the best healer in all of Rukongai. Her name is Yunohana Retsu, and her Zanpakuto is called Minutsuki. I don't know the translation. Unfortunately, not many have seen her awaken her Shikai, since there have been no invasions or major injuries in the past centuries. In the 5th division, there is no captain, so the Lieutenant Sosuke Aizen has been playing the role of captain, although he isn't their actual captain. The 6th division's captain who is Kuchiki Byakuya. His Zanpakuto is Senbon Sakura, 1000 cherry blossoms, but to awaken his Shikai he says Chire, scatter. The 7th division's captain is quite secretive, and he always wears a helmet on his head to stop people from looking at his true face. Just after the teacher said that, the bell went, signaling to everyone that class was dismissed. Okay, we'll continue this lesson for another time, now dismissed. When Renji, Rukia and Naruto were heading to Hakuda class, they discussed the history of Zanpakutos. Hey Naruto, which Zanpakuto did you think was the best in your opinion? Rukia asked. In my opinion, I'd say Captain Yamamoto-sama's Ryujinjaka, since it is the most powerful fire-based Zanpakuto. Although it is weak against water, I'm sure he wouldn't have been a captain if he didn't have a technique that was strong against water. Naruto explained. How about you Renji? Naruto asked. I'd like Kuchiki Taiko's Senbon Sakura. It sounds like he uses only cherry blossom leaves to attack, so I figure that it'll require a large amount of skill and strength to master that. Renji said. What about you Rukia? Well, I'd like that 2nd division's Soifong's Zanpakuto best. It's quick, easy to use and dangerous. Rukia said, giving a brief explanation of her choice. We should talk about this some other time, for now we have Hakuda class, and if we don't hurry, we'll be late. Naruto said, rushing off followed by Renji and Rukia. As the 3 walked into Hakuda class, they found it strange, as it was completely silent. Normally, it'll be loud and people talking, but today it wasn't. Only after, they found out it was time for them to advance to weak Shunpo level 3. Before they were all level 2 besides Naruto, as he had already mastered Shunpo in his 3rd year. So class, since everyone is here, I will start to explain how to do this new Shunpo that you're learning. Although it is still not as fast or effective as the normal Shunpo, it is a step needed to learn to be able to perform the regular Shunpo. To do this weak Shunpo level 3, you must incorporate what you did with the level 2 and just increase your speed, and also spread out your Ryotsu, so you can sense where you're going to be instead of crashing into a tree. The teacher explained, and everyone found a large area each, and began their training. You, Uzumaki come here. The teacher said, calling Naruto to him, since you miraculously can perform the real Shunpo, I want you to master it. By mastering it, I mean that you have to be on par with some of Gote 13 Shinigami. Now go, he shouted and Naruto Shunpo ed off into a blank area. Now how should I start practicing my Shunpo? Naruto thought. That's it, I'll first count how many I can do consecutively. After this thought, Naruto started Shunpo-ing and counting. 1, 2, 3, until he was at 23. Damn, I was aiming for at least 25. Oh well, now I'll start to my Ryotsu capacity and my control. I guess I should try to cast Kido whilst Shunpo-ing increases my reserves and also my concentration on the separate tasks. He started his training by casting the red flame cannon, just to get a feel of concentration needed in order to perform it successfully. Next, he did a few Shunpos consecutively, giving him a feel of the Ryotsu usage and also the concentration. Afterwards, he combined the two, but there was a catch, he had to maintain the red flame. Canon until Naruto did 5 consecutive shunpos. At first it actually worked, but when he unleashed the Kido, it wasn't as strong as his normal ones, but it still blasted a few trees, and scorched the ground. Maybe when I shunpo, I should send more Ryotsu into my Kido, since when I shunpo, I may have drawn some energy from the red flame cannon, resulting in its weaker power. This is just beginning. I feel that I'm getting stronger already. Naruto yelled into the wildlife, startling the birds as they flew off into the sky. End. Hope you liked it. Sorry for the delay. Chapter 6. Hey, sorry for the delay of Chapter 4. Hey, sorry for the delay of Chapter 4. So I'm doing Chapter 5 as well. Smiley face quiz stats. Fire 0, Sun 9, Lightning 1, Wind 2. Moon 8, Water 0, Eclipse 4. It was time. Time for what? Time to get their Zanpakutos. Naruto, Renji and Rukia, and their classmates had reached the 5th year, and boy, were they excited. It was May the 4th, and they're getting their precious Zanpakutos. I hope I get the coolest Zanpakuto. A student shouted. No way, I'll get the coolest, his friend said. I'll get the coolest of the coolest, another shouted. The class was hectic. There was only one chance in the academy to get your Soul Slayers, and teachers were used to this excitement. But one person was calm and meditating. Who could it be? None other than the well-known prodigy, Uzumaki Naruto. I wonder what Zanpakuto he'd get. Meanwhile, Naruto was completely oblivious to the noise in the classroom, as he was conversing with the great demon inside him, the Kyuubi no Kitsune. X in his mindscape. Boy, let me give you some advice. When you channel your Ryotsu into the Zanpakuto making metal, channel some of my energy into it, Kyuubi said. Why Kyuubi? I don't want others to suffocate or be hurt from your demonic Ryotsu. Naruto replied. Don't worry boy, it'll only be a short burst. I'm sure no one will get hurt, maybe just feel a little bit of spiritual pressure. Quote. Okay Kyuubi, but make sure your Ryotsu is only a tiny bit. I don't want to draw attention myself. Agreed. I'm tired now, you're going to miss your turn, get back to the real world. And with that said, Kyuubi forced a burst of Ryotsu to blast Naruto back into consciousness. In the classroom, half of them had already obtained their Zanpakutos, and already been talking to it, trying to obtain the Shikai as soon as possible. Idiots. Talking to their Zanpakuto with only the thought of obtaining power will make their Zanpakutos dislike them even more, Naruto thought. Abarai, Renji. The teacher said, haha, time for my ultimate Zanpakuto, Renji yelled. 5 minutes later, Renji came out with an ordinary-looking sword. However, it seemed a little longer than the normal kind. However, the sheath was just black with a white cross in the middle. Rukia. She was called after Renji. This time, 3 minutes later, she came out with her own Zanpakuto. The better your Ryotsu control and the less Ryotsu you have, it must mean that you create a Zanpakuto faster, Naruto thought. Uzumaki, Naruto. The teacher said, and this time, everyone quieted down. They all wanted to see what the prodigy's Zanpakuto was like. Time to go make the Zanpakuto that'll protect, Naruto thought with determination. He walked into the room, and saw that there was a special metal inside a sphere with 2 handles on both sides. He grabbed the handles, and immediately knew what to do. Remembering about Kyuubi's deal, he channeled Kyuubi's Ryotsu into his left hand, giving the left handle a faint blood-red aura. However, his channeled his own Ryotsu into his right hand, giving the right handle a faint blue aura. There was a flash of red light on one side and blue light the other side, and big explosion. When the lights disappeared, Naruto found 2 Zanpakutos hovering around him, silently telling him to pick them up. He held them tightly, making a silent prayer to them. I will only use these swords to destroy the evil and protect the precious. The left sword was slightly wider, and above the handle, there was a round circle and with 2 spikes protruding on the left and right sides of the circle. What made the sword unique though was that the circle was completely red, with a faint indent of another circle in the big circle's center. The right sword was longer, and there were 2 small circles on the spikes that came out above the handle. But instead of an indent of a sun, it had a moon on each. So the sun and the moon each. Interesting. Naruto thought. He also found 2 sheaths that were tied somehow on his back in a cross. He couldn't see them, but his mind could just tell what color they were. The color of one sheath was red, with 2 blue stripes on the top, and the size was wider. The other sheath, however, was exactly the same as the first, only opposite colors, and that it was longer. He walked out, with his Zanpakutos sheathed, and everyone was shocked. 2 Zanpakutos. The only captains to have 2 were Yukitake Taiko and Shunshui Taiko. That Uzumaki kid is amazing. Hey Renji, hey Rukia. Naruto said. Hee, you show off, Renji said. Unfair. Why do you get 2? Rukia said playfully. Don't worry Rukia, it just means we'll have to train twice as hard, right? Renji said.
Hey, I'm not that easy to overcome. I'm planning to train at least twice to thrice times hard, Naruto said.
After the entire ruckus in the hectic class of obtaining their Zanpakutos, most of the students didn't show up to class, since they were busy trying to talk to their Zanpakutos, but with no hope or any sign of progress. Meanwhile in Kido, only Naruto, Renji and Rukia were left to attend the class. Why are Tere only you 3 in class? Where's everyone else? The teacher said. They're skipping class, because they want to talk to their Zanpakutos, Naruto replied. Well, they don't know what they're missing, because I was planning on teaching everyone a new spell. The teacher said. This spell is called Hado. Blue Lightning Annihilation. It is similar to the Blue Fire Crash Down, but you have to generate lightning and use at least 3 times as much Ryotsu. This spell is solely used for offense, and can kill someone if you're not careful. Because of this danger, you 3 have to find separate places that are far away from each other. The 3 separated, and found different places to practice their new spell. Naruto actually found this spell easier to perform compared to the Blue Fire Crash Down, since his Ryotsu had to be controlled more in the weaker Kido. However, the new Kido, the Blue Lightning Annihilation, didn't require much control, allowing Naruto to excel in the spell, and generate a very, very big blast of lightning. Hey, if this is what other high-level Kido spells are like, I'll breeze through this, but still I must work hard to accomplish my goals. Naruto thought. Just moments after Naruto's thought, another 2 bursts of lightning appeared. Looks like Renji and Rukia got the hang of it too. Slowly the 3 walked back to their teacher, who looked extremely pleased and surprised. You 3 are the first ones in history to learn a spell so fast. It looks like the next generation has even more talent than the first. The teacher said, praising the 3 students. Now since you've learned that spell so quickly, you can be dismissed early. Have fun training
with your Zanpakutos. Outside the classrooms, the trio walked to the sparring grounds only used for practicing techniques or sparring, as the name suggests.
Hey Naruto, how about me and Rukia against you, since you are rumored to be stronger and have more skill? But you do have 2 Zanpakutos, giving you an advantage, Renji said.
Sure Renji, but I'll still kick both of your asses. Naruto, and unsheathed his 2 swords, positioning his right arm above behind him with the sword tip facing forwards, as his left arm was just held in front of him normally. His legs were evenly balanced and tensed, ready for any sudden attack. Renji and Rukia's stance were just the basic ones, as they felt no need to change into another one which would be uncomfortable with them. Their swords were gripped with both hands directly in front of them. Motioning with a nod towards Rukia, Renji and her charged towards Naruto, but when they got halfway, Renji jumped, trying to catch Naruto off guard with an aerial attack, whilst Rukia went for a disabling blow, which was aimed at Naruto's legs. Naruto knew that if he dodged both the blows, he'd be forced on the defensive, so he blocked Rukia's leg sweep, and dodged Renji's blow, but thrust his own sword at Renji, forcing him to dodge. Renji did in fact dodge, by jumping backwards whilst knocking away Naruto's thrust from below. Rukia saw her chance and jumped, trying to use gravity to her advantage and overpower Naruto with a big swing, but Naruto blocked with both swords and kicked her away.
Renji has just landed from his jump and Rukia hit him, softening her blow, but hurting Renji. After this, Renji started chanting for a Kido spell. Naruto saw this, and cast his own, but he didn't chant. Blue Fire Crash Down. Naruto yelled, and simultaneously, Renji yelled, Blue Lightning Crash Down. If it wasn't for Naruto's huge Ryotsu capacity, Renji's spell would have destroyed Naruto's, but that wasn't the case as Naruto yelled a moment later, Freezing Burst, Blue Lightning Crash Down. Red Flame Cannon. Renji and Rukia couldn't have seen this coming, and couldn't dodge all 3 spells completely to avoid damage. Even though Rukia and Renji were burned quite badly, Naruto was panting heavily. The last 3 spells being cast simultaneously one after the next was extremely difficult even in the most talented of Shinigami, and would have brought most Shinigami to Ryotsu depletion, but not Naruto, a Ryotsu monster. As quick as a flash, Renji used the weak Shunpo level 3 to appear behind Naruto and swing his sword at Naruto. But Naruto avoided the blow by blocking with both his swords, leaving his back open for an attack, which Rukia did. Red Flame Cannon, Rukia said. Without the use of chanting. Once Renji sensed that Rukia was building up energy, he knew what was going to happen, so he jumped away, and let Naruto be engulfed by Rukia's weak spell, since there was no chant. However, Naruto still had tricks up his sleeves, and used Shunpo at the last second. This didn't prevent him from getting slight burns on his back though. Recovering from his Reiatsu loss from before, he charged towards Rukia, Sword Art, Twin Sword Blast. Naruto shouted one of his new techniques. He channeled Reiatsu into the tip of both blades, and then swung both up, releasing the 2 bursts of Reiatsu out, forming 2 parallel blasts of Reiatsu at Rukia. Rukia wasn't stupid. She knew that even if she dodged, she'd still get even more injured from Naruto. So she chanted for the new spell that she learnt. Blue Lightning Annihilation, she said, and tried to block the Reiatsu blasts. Renji saw that she was being overpowered by the sheer amount of Reiatsu in Naruto's last attack, quickly used his weak Shunpo to get beside her and cast his own Kido. This time it was Freezing Burst, and suddenly froze the 2 energies colliding with each other. Seeing his opportunity, Naruto quickly cast the spell, Total Darkness. And complete darkness was engulfing Renji and Rukia, blinding them. Naruto then tried to take advantage of the situation and take a break, but then he heard Renji shout, "White light," and the darkness dissipated, allowing Renji and Rukia to see again. But Naruto was counting on this, and before they knew it, they saw that Naruto was holding out his palms and his swords were stabbed onto the ground beside him. Naruto Hado. Flaming icicles. Naruto shouted, combining the blue fire crash down with the freezing burst, to create icicles that were lit with blue fire raining down on Renji and Rukia. And all the duo could do was watch. End, read and review. Shikai will be shown on ch. 7, 8/9. Chapter 7. Hey everyone, I love the reviews. Hey everyone, I love the reviews. The quiz stops now. Quiz stats. Stopped. Fire 0, Sun 10, Lightning 1, Wind 2, Moon 10. Water 0, Eclipse 4. Okay reader Sama, the quiz has chosen its 2 choices, the sun and the moon. Enjoy Chapter 6 and all. Renji and Rukia could watch the blue flaming ice shards raining down upon them. As the icicles came closer and closer, Renji had a train of thought, I might have enough Ryotsu to push Rukia out of the way, and at the same time using a weak Shunpo to dodge for myself. And after this thought, Renji executed his plan. He pushed Rukia. Check. He did a weak Shunpo. Check. He appeared unharmed. Check. But what he didn't think about was that Naruto could chase them down, and sensing a person behind, all he could do was await the blow that would knock him out. Naruto had Shunpo Ed right behind Renji and had a smirk on his face. He never thinks ahead. And kicked Renji into unconsciousness, but nothing to do serious damage. Come on Rukia, I know you're there, so why don't you come down and face me one-on-one? Naruto taunted, but he wasn't prepared for Rukia to make any sudden movements. Red Flame Cannon. Rukia shouted and caught Naruto off guard. The Kido was weak, but still strong enough to burn Naruto and burn his academy uniform into crisps. Seeing Naruto surprised, Rukia then launched a counter-offensive, keeping Naruto on a defensive even with his 2 swords. Rukia charged at him, with one sword in one hand, and her other hand was just hanging. Naruto saw that her mouth was moving, but didn't much of it until he saw what Rukia was doing, but it was too late. Rukia had already faked a thrust to Naruto's left, forcing him to dodge on the right, and just then, Rukia shouted, Freezing Burst, and managed to get a direct hit, but then she collapsed on the ground. The last few moments really took a toll on her Ryotsu, and she estimated that she could last only for 3 minutes longer. On the other hand, Naruto had a quarter of his Ryotsu left, which was about the same as Rukia's full capacity, giving him a huge advantage. However, The wounds on his body were aching, but healing, due to Kyuubi. Let's try something new. Naruto thought and immediately held his right sword upside down, and said, "This is a technique I've been trying to do, it won't hurt much," and after that was said, he proceeded with his experimental attack. Sword art. Spinning. Blades. Naruto shouted and he threw both swords in the air and used threads of Ryotsu to spin the blades. Once the blades were spinning fast, he used 2 thick threads to launch each of the swords at Rukia. Rukia, momentarily distracted at the thought of being killed by the twin blades, did not notice Naruto behind her. Just as the swords came close, Naruto stopped the swords and kicked Rukia towards Renji, effectively knocking her out too. "Good fight, Renji and Rukia," Naruto said as he too collapsed on the ground. "Sorry, I'm out of energy," and he drifted off into unconsciousness. The next day, the three had found themselves in their dorm. Renji was the first to wake up, so he woke Naruto and Rukia up too. "Hey Naruto, that was an awesome fight. Thanks for bringing us back to the dorm afterwards," Renji said. "It was a good fight, but I collapsed right after I won. Wonder who brought us back," Naruto said. "Naruto, it's unfair that you have so many cool techniques and your Ryotsu capacity to quadruple mine," Rukia said. "Well, you get new techniques when you train hard," Naruto said. After they got dressed, they headed out to take a walk, but saw Hitsugaya Toshiro, the third seat. "Hey Toshiro, what brings you to the academy? I thought you were still third seat," Naruto said. "No Naruto, I've been promoted to Fukutaichu, vice captain, had to fight the captain for my life to get the promotion. Speaking of which, I had to carry you three back to your dorm, because you all fell asleep in the sparring grounds. And you can't even call it sparring grounds, more like the result of 3 people sparring grounds. It was a mess," Hitsugaya Fukutaichu said. "Hee, sorry about that, S3 wanted to test our powers in Zanpakuto, you know?" Naruto said sheepishly, whilst rubbing the back of his head. "Speaking of Zanpakutos, there's been a rumor in the Gote 13 that you had 2 Zanpakutos. Can I see them?" Toshiro said. "Sure. I guess word travels fast," Naruto said as he unsheathed his dual Zanpakutos and showed the newly promoted vice captain. "Wow, nice swords. Well, I better get going. Paperwork has doubled since my promotion." With that said, he shunpo-ed off. Time skip 1 year. It had been 1 year since obtaining their Zanpakutos, and still no one had any luck getting even a conversation with their soul slayers, but everyone had been slowly getting stronger, although Naruto was still the strongest in the class. It was time for Zanjutsu class, and many were eager to hear the rest of the history of the Gote 13 and their Zanpakuto and Shikai, since their teacher had been putting it off until the 6th year. In class, the teacher started the lesson. "Okay students, I promised you that when you were in the 6th year, you'd hear the rest of the Gote 13's history. Now I'll tell you all the rest. As I was saying last year, the 7th captain is Komamura Sajin. No one besides Yamamoto Taiko and a few other captains have seen his true face. His Zanpakuto is called Tengen, Heavens Punishment, and his Shikai is awakened by saying Todoroku, Roar. The 8th captain, Kyoraku Shunsui, is one of the 3 people to obtain dual Zanpakutos. The other 2 are Yukatake Jushiro and Uzumaki Naruto. His Zanpakuto name is Kaden Kyokotsu, Flower Sky, Crazy Bones, and his Shikai is summoned by calling Hanakaze Midorite, Kashin Naki, Tenpu Midorite, and Tenma Warao, Flowered Breeze Flutters, Flower God Weeps, Heaven's Gale Blows, and Heaven's Demon Laughs. The 9th captain is, like the 3rd captain, very secretive about his techniques, and not many have seen them, including me. The 10th captain, who is newly promoted, is Hitsugaya Toshiro, a prodigy. His Zanpakuto is called Hiranmara, Ice Ring, and his Shikai is awakened by him calling Soden ni Zace, Sit upon the frozen heavens. The 11th captain, Kenpachi, is a strange one. He does not know his Zanpakuto name, Shikai or Bankai, and has achieved the rank of captain. He loves to fight and has the most Ryotsu out of the entire Gote 13. The 12th division's captain is Karachuchi Mayuri, and his Zanpakuto name is a Shisogi Jizu, Leg Shredder Priest, and his Shikai is called Kakamusher, Pillage. Last but certainly not least, The 13th Division captain is Yukitake Jushiro and his Zanpakuto is called Sugio no Katowari, Parable of Twin Fish, and is the second one to have a dual Zanpakuto. His Shikai is Nami Kodagotoku, wa ga Tade to Nair, Inazuki. Kodagotoku, wa ga Yeba to Nair. Be as the waves, become my shield. Be as lightning, become my blade. That's it for our lesson. Be sure to practice with your Zanpakutos and don't spend too much time on meditating. Usually Shikai comes within 5 years. The teacher said. Dismissed. Wow Naruto, you're well known in the Gote 13 for having dual Zanpakutos like the 8th and 13th captains, Rukia said. Yeah. I can't believe that Hitsugaya Taiko made captain in just 2 years. He must be really strong, Naruto said. Hey guys, we've got Kido next. We should be learning a new spell, Renji exclaimed. Hey Renji, since when are you so into Kido? Rukia asked. Well, I still remember from last year that spar, when you and I lost to Naruto. He was using Kido and still beat us. He didn't even use his swords much, and we know Naruto is stronger using his sword techniques than Kido spells. So if I can balance out my Kido with my sword, then I'll be even stronger. Renji yelled and ran to Kido class. What a dumbass, you don't get stronger from balance. You get stronger from hard work and creating your own methods and strategies to beat opponents. Naruto trailed off, not wanting to say too much, as he too ran towards class. Ah, you three are here. I was just about to start teaching the class about a new spell. The teacher said. All students liked the Kido teacher. She was kind and never angry or annoyed if you were late. Now this spell is called Binding Spell. 4 pillars bind. Let me demonstrate. See that target dummy? Watch this. Looking at the target and concentrating, the teacher performed the spell. 4 pillars bind. And suddenly, 4 tall pillars emerged from the ground and wrapped themselves around the target dummy. Now I can squeeze tighter, and the pillars wrap themselves tighter around the dummy. Or I can loosen my grip. And the pillars vanished, leaving the defenseless dummy where it originally was. Despite this spell is a high-level spell, I'm sure most of you will be able to do it successfully today. Just concentrate your Ryotsu into the ground and imagine 4 pillars binding a target dummy. Their teacher finished. Naruto found a target dummy and did exactly what his teacher said, but she didn't say how much Ryotsu, so Naruto was just pouring it out, and then sending it into the ground to form pillars. When he shouted, 4 pillars bind. The pillars were so big that they destroyed 2 target dummies when they appeared from the ground. Naruto, not that much Ryotsu, maybe do about a quarter of what you just used, but other than that not bad at all. Naruto tried again, but this time with less Ryotsu, just as the teacher said, and it came out perfectly. The 4 pillars were smooth and the same shape as the teacher's, and he could even control the strength of the pillars by sending more Ryotsu into it. I can feel it. I'm getting stronger, Naruto thought. End. Next chapter will be better. Chapter 8. Hey everyone, I've been having lots of inspiration for writing this story, so these updates are very quick. Enjoy Chapter 7. New quiz as well. Quiz. Bankai. Both Zanpakutos combine separate Zanpakutos. Able to combine and buy separate today was a very exciting day for the 6th years, as they will be going into the forest for hollow slaying. You had to have groups of 3 and slay 5 robot hollows each. Listen up all of you. It's time to test your real skills. You must slay a total of 15 robot hollows all together in 3-man groups, so 5 hollows must be destroyed by each person in your team. Organize your teams now. Over the months, Naruto, Renji and Rukia had made 3 more good friends, who were Hinamori Momo, Matsumoto Rangaku and Kira. Momo and Kira specialized in Kido, but their Zanjutsu and Hakuda were still above average. Rangaku wasn't specializing in anything, as her Kido, Zanjutsu and Hakuda were just all above average and equally skilled in. The 6 devised a plan that they would stick together to be safer in the forest. They'd still slay a total of 30 hollows, but they'd be safer traveling together. However, the official groups were Group 1. Uzumaki Naruto, Hinamori Momo, and Rukia. Naruto would be in the front, whilst Momo in the middle to help either Naruto or Rukia, and Rukia was at the back, since her sensing abilities were best. Group 2. Aburai Renji, Kira and Matsumoto Rangaku, with Renji at front, Kira in the middle and Rangaku at the back, playing the same roles as Group 1. After registering their groups, they were assigned gates leading in the forest. Fortunately, Naruto's group was located at Gate 10, whilst Renji's group was located at Gate 11, saving them time to find each other in the massive forest. Okay. We trust that you've all gone to your allocated gates and are ready in 3-man teams. On your marks, begin. The speaker shouted, and the gates opened up, allowing all teams to run into the forest. Grouping together, they made an order for the 6 of them, for who would slay the first hollow. The order was Rukia, Renji, Kira, Momo, Rangaku and Naruto. As the first hollow showed up, everyone besides Rukia stopped on a tree branch to watch her one-on-one fight with the robot hollow. It was actually easier than expected, with a shout of blue fire crash down. The fake hollow was injured and Rukia finished it off with an ordinary downward slash with her Zanpakuto. The ease of slaying fake hollows happened to everyone, and slowly everyone was on at least 8 kills each. But then suddenly a black cloud shifted over them, and a rip in the sky could be seen. It looked as if an imaginary creature was trying to open up a door to this dimension. Suddenly, the door ripped off, and thousands of black creatures with a familiar white mask were raining down upon the students. Emergency! Emergency! Please retreat to Academy and wait for the Gote 13 to appear. Retreat. Students, an announcement was just broadcasted. We've got to retreat, Rukia said. No way, we've got to hold these hollows back. You guys all fall back, I'll do what I can to stop them reaching you. Naruto said bravely, as he parried a blow from a hollow and sliced it in half with both swords. Go now. Renji saw the desperation in Naruto's eyes and knew that if they didn't go, more casualties would happen. Rukia, Momo, Rangaku and Kira go now, I'll help Naruto fend them off. Renji yelled and quickly sliced of an approaching hollow's arm which was about to stab Naruto in the leg. The other 4 retreated, hoping to call assistance when they got back to the academy. Come on Renji, let's speed this up. Naruto shouted and was still fighting the hollows left and right. Quickly sheathing one of his swords, he yelled, freezing burst, and 3 hollows within the vicinity were frozen. Red flame cannon. Renji said and aimed it at the frozen hollows to break them to shards of ice that dropped to the ground. Renji had attracted 5 hollows, and he was forced to go on the defensive and just block or parry, but one of the hollows saw an opening and attacked. Naruto saw this and quickly chopped that hollow, and with his silent encouragement, Renji banished 2 more hollows. Total darkness. Renji yelled and allowed for only him and Naruto to see through the darkness, whilst the hollows mindlessly attacked each other because of their predicament. Renji, stand back, I'm about to blast all these hollows away for a few minutes, Naruto said and gathered his Ryotsu into the outside of his body. Naruto style. Swirling tornado. And he quickly span around, letting loose the massive Ryotsu he gathered, causing a Ryotsu tornado that blew most hollows that were close to him into shreds and halted the other hollows that were slowly advancing on him and Renji. As soon as the tornado dissipated, Renji saw his chance to destroy 10 more of those hollows that were severely injured from Naruto's last attack, whilst Naruto sheathed his second sword and started using Zanjutsu with a mix of Hakuda and his Shunpo. Slowly but surely, the numbers of the hollows were decreasing from around 200 to 60. Naruto and Renji were tired and panting mildly now, but they still fought off any hollow that dared to strike at them. But suddenly, there was a flash of light and another gate in the sky ripped open. But this gate was much larger than the first one, and as soon as the other hollows saw this gate, they quickly retreated back into their dimension. I hope nothing bad is going to come out of that gate, Renji said, and just after that, a humongous hollow appeared. It was standing over 50 feet tall and its arms were hanging by its giant body. Its mask was white, but the part where the nose should be was sticking out like a tree branch. It roared, and Renji could feel the spiritual pressure forcing him to crouch down and collapse. However, Naruto was unaffected as his Ryotsu capacity could withstand such pressure. Great Renji, you just had to jinx it, Naruto said and forced some of his own spiritual pressure to protect Renji from the giant hollows. Renji, how much Ryotsu do you still have? I have over half, Naruto said. I have about a quarter, Renji said with difficulty. Then quickly Shunpo out of here, I'll hold it back for you to get more backup. Don't argue, just do what I say, Naruto shouted. Naruto. Hado. Ice shock combination, and lightning was striking the huge hollow, but when the lightning hit, you could clearly see icicles falling apart. Renji by now was running off, hoping silently that Naruto would be alright. Damn it, Naruto Hado. Flaming icicles, and once again the Kido didn't do much damage to the giant hollow, besides annoying it. Equipping his dual Zanpakutos, he tried one of his sword techniques. Sword art. Spinning blades. And instead of throwing them at the target, he spun it in front of his face with the tip of the blade spinning of the side. Once he reached the hollow's head, he slashed and swung. He stabbed and kicked. But all he did was a crack in the mask. Secret skill. Element fusion. Naruto yelled. The hollow was forcing him to use his strongest and most deadly attacks. He held his sword in his right hand whilst charging up the Kido Blue Lightning Annihilation into the sword, giving it an aura of blue and yellow, but surprisingly, it did not make it green. Naruto jumped and Shunpo-ed behind the hollow and slashed, this time making a cut. Smirking, he slashed and slashed, making multiple cuts appear on the hollow's neck. The hollow was now very angry. It started charged up some sort of red beam in its mouth and Naruto Shunpo-ed to a safe distance. Immediately, once the beam was at least twice the size of its starting size, the hollow launched it, screaming, "I'm firing my Sero." Author's note. Sorry, had to put that line in, XD. And the Sero were raging towards Naruto with such speed that Naruto couldn't outrun. This is my last chance. Please Zanpakuto, let me use your Shikai, Naruto thought. Sorry cliffhanger. Chapter 9. Hey everyone, I hoped you like the quick updates these few chapters. Hey everyone, I hoped you like the quick updates these few chapters. Please review, even if you're just saying, nice work, or, update soon, thanks. Quiz. Bankai. Both Zanpakutos combine 0 separate Zanpakutos 0. Able to combine and be separate one after Naruto's distress call to his Zanpakutos, he was immediately transported into his own mindscape, only it had no trace of Kyuubi or the cage. The scenery was quite abnormal, as half the sky had the sun shining down upon him, whilst the other half had the moon giving off its moonlight. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared. One was a man which was standing on the left side which was representing the sun, and the other figure was a woman, standing on the right side, giving Naruto the impression that she was representing the moon. I guess you're both my Zanpakutos, right? Naruto said. Yes Naruto, the sun side answered. We know that you're in a life and death situation, the moon side said. Yes. Please lend me your powers in order to protect my friends and the people that will suffer at the hands of hollows. Naruto asked. I guess you're ready for one of our powers. Let's try. The moon side said. My name is. Sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you, Naruto said. I said that my name was, the moon side repeated, and watching Naruto's face expressions, she could tell that he didn't hear her. Sorry Naruto, I guess you're not ready for my powers. Why don't you try him next to me? Naruto, use my powers well, I have faith in you. My name is Amaterasu, the sun god. The sun side then whispered how to awaken him, and suddenly, Naruto was forced back into reality. His eyes blazed with determination and found a new source of power dwelling within him. Looking at the Zanpakuto which has the sun crest embedded above the handle. Incinerate with your mighty rays, Amaterasu. Naruto shouted his Shikai, and a white light suddenly covered his Zanpakuto. Slowly, the white light dissipated and Naruto was astounded at the Shikai's sudden change in the Zanpakuto's appearance. The main shape of the sword became longer and still remained its old width. The hilt was red and orange, obviously representing the sun above the hilt. The old sun symbol was still embedded in the sword, but on the left and right sides, there was a long spike on each side that resembled a short sword which gave the whole sword a total of 3 double-sided blades, which was extremely dangerous. The Sero was still coming towards him, and Naruto had no choice but to shout out one of the techniques that his sword spirit put into his memory. Flame art. Potent black fire. Naruto shouted and black-colored fire quickly poured out of his sword and was immediately launched towards the Sero attack that the gigantic hollow used. The 2 Ryotsu-fueled attacks halted each other, and both opponents battled it out for their own dominance. Naruto was slowly being pushed back by the enemy, and had a plan. He sheathed his sword and yelled. Blue fire crashed down, red flame cannon, blue lightning annihilation. Naruto shouted those 3 spells consecutively in his left hand, one after the other to fuel his black fire. With the help of the 3 spells, Naruto's black fire grew even bigger and started to push back the Sero, forcing the hollow to be pushed back as well. Seeing his opportunity, Naruto quickly unsheathed his second Zanpakuto and charged at the hollow, releasing all the spiritual pressure his Ryotsu could muster. By now, the gigantic hollow was being pushed back even further, which a result from Naruto's sudden outburst and Ryotsu force. Meanwhile in the trees, Hitsugaya Toshiro and Yukitake Jushiro had been watching Naruto battle out the Manos Grande. The 13th captain had been wanting to just rush in and destroy the Manos, but Hitsugaya had held him back saying, "Hold on, let's just see how strong he is, and how much potential he has. If he is in danger, we'll both step in immediately." That sentence was enough to calm Jushiro down. Seeing the Manos being held back, and sensing that Naruto was exhausted, Hitsugaya signaled to Yukitake to destroy the Manos Grande whilst Toshiro himself would take Naruto to the 4th division, to be treated by their captain, Unohana Retsu, the best healer in all of Rukongai. Naruto woke up and the first thing he saw was the white ceiling, and he felt himself on a comfortable bed. "Are you alright from your exhausting battle last night?" A soothing voice said. "My name is Unohana Retsu. I'm the 4th division captain and I specialize in healing, so don't worry about your injuries, they're all healed." "Thanks. What happened last night? I remember fighting this huge hollow and pushing it back, but then I was knocked out," Naruto said. "Sorry Naruto, that'll have to be my doing," a person in white robes said. "Me and Yukitake Taiko were watching your fight against the Manos Grande that showed up. It's surprising that you unlocked one of your Zanpakuto's Shikai and was able to push the Manos back with your spiritual pressure." Hitsugaya said. "Yeah, cool Shikai. Can you please don't tell anyone? I want to surprise opponents," Naruto said. "Wait, where are my swords?" Naruto yelled and asked at the same time. "Don't worry Naruto, they're right beside you, and we won't tell anyone about your Shikai, right?" Hitsugaya, Taiko and Yukitake. "Taiko?" The soothing voice of Unohana Taiko was taking an immediate effect on Naruto, as it seemed to have calmed him down just by letting him hear her voice. "Sure thing." The 2 other captains replied. Naruto, although was calmer than before, still looked around and spotted both his swords and his sheaths on a bedside table. "So can I go now? I need to get back to training, and I have to send my thanks to my Zanpakuto that gave me its Shikai," Naruto said as he got off the bed and stretched his aching limbs. "Yes Naruto, you're free to go. Goodbye," the 4th division captain said as she bid Naruto goodbye and went back to her office to do some paperwork. Later Hitsugaya Taiko. Naruto said casually and took his belongings and went off. Naruto was back in the academy and he was just entering the dorm, only to find Renji, Rukia, Kira, Hinamori and Rangaku with worried expressions on their faces. "Hey guys, how are you?" Naruto said, surprising the 5 as they did not notice Naruto's presence. "Naruto," they all shouted at the same time, "we missed you. What happened to you after we left? How did you fight off all those hollows by yourself?" "We alerted Hitsugaya Taiko and Yukitake Taiko to find you, did they? How bad are your injuries?" "Whoa guys, slow down. To answer all of your questions, I missed you guys too. I was fighting lots of hollows until a huge Manos Grande showed up. I fought off all those hollows by using a mixture of Kido and Zanjutsu techniques. The 2 captains did find me and gave me to the 4th division to heal me. My injuries are all healed," Naruto said all in one breath. "So what did actually happen after we all left?" Renji said and everyone else nodded, so Naruto proceeded to tell everyone what happened, but left out the Shikai bit, since he wanted to keep it a secret. "Damn. You fought off a Manos Grande? I read in books that it rumored to contain the power of 100 hollows," Rukia said. "We really need to train harder," Renji exclaimed. "But I'll be training even harder now that I have knowledge of the Manos Grande," Naruto said. "Are you sure all your injuries are healed?" Hinamori Momo said. "Yeah, my body feels really good too," Naruto said. "Well, I'm going to train, bye." And after that being said, Naruto vanished with the help of his shunpo. Sosuke Aizen was brooding. Yes, he was brooding. He had made captain of the 5th division, and had already plotted a scheme involving Tucson the 9th captain and Jin, the 3rd captain. However, a spy Hollow reported to him yesterday about Naruto Uzumaki. He has great potential and would either be a great ally or a horrible enemy. I must tread carefully around him and bring him to my side. Not to mention that after I obtain the Haugoku, I don't know how it's spelled, so bear with me, and then I can turn him into a half Shinigami, half hollow. Aizen thought. Hi there Aizen, still thinking about the Uzumaki kid? Jin just walked through the door and nearly startled Aizen, but Aizen doesn't get startled, so he just kept thinking. Don't worry if it gets out of hand. We can kill him. Ichimaru Jin said, and then disappearing, leaving Aizen to ponder this thought. Maybe Jin, maybe, Aizen said, with a smirk emerging on his face. Suddenly a black butterfly came and alerts Aizen of a captain's meeting. Once all captains were in the Great Hall, Yamamoto started. It is time we arrange which academy student goes into which division. We'll start with the 6 most talented 6th years. Yamamoto said. Student number 1, Uzumaki Naruto. The room became eerily quiet as everyone was paying attention to the student who single-handedly fought off Ameno's Grande and awakened their Shikai. Within 2 months, Uzumaki Naruto is the prodigy of the academy. I estimate that he is the level of a 3rd or 4th seeder. He has dual Zanpakutos and is known for creating new techniques, some of which are actually combinations of regular Kido. Yamamoto Taiko, I'd like him to be in my division, Aizen said. I think that he'd become stronger if he was surrounded by people who could overcome him with his weakness. Aizen Taiko, he has no weaknesses so far in his records. He should be placed with me. I myself wield dual Zanpakutos so I could help train him. Do you think Yamamoto? I'd say no, it would have a negative effect on your division if they saw you training Naruto instead of training them all. However, I also disagree with Aizen, because he doesn't have any weaknesses. Yamamoto said. Yamamoto, I want him to be in M division. Kenpachi basically screamed, letting loose quite a bit of Ryotsu in the process. Yamamoto was just about to disagree, but someone thought otherwise. Yamamoto Taiko, I too think it's wise for Naruto Uzumaki to go to the 11th division. The 11th division solely specializes in powerful blows and not Kido, which could be their downfall. I think that Naruto could change the division into an all-balanced skilled division, and making them even deadlier in the process. Soifong said, surprising many captains as she usually didn't speak and weren't on good terms with Kenpachi. Well, after Soifong's reasons, I think it is suitable for Naruto to join the 11th division. Yamamoto said, ignoring the screams of glee and happiness from Kenpachi. Oh, and Kenpachi Taiko, Naruto has Shikai. Hitsugaya said, hoping to see Naruto against Kenpachi. This is just too good to be true. I'm going to cut him up right now. And with that Kenpachi rushed out the door and headed out to find his new recruit. Now that Uzumaki Naruto's division has been solved, who wants Aburai Renji? He specializes in Zanjutsu, very good at Kido and Hakuda and is quite loud. I feel that he should join my division, Yamamoto Taiko, Byakuya said. Many people were surprised, as he never asked for anyone to put in his division. My reasons are that my division would teach some restraint and obedience to Aburai and force him to give up his old habits. Agreed. Yamamoto said. In the end, Rukia had gone to the 13th division, Rangaku to the 10th division, Hinamori to the 5th division and Kira to the 3rd division. Everyone is dismissed. Please go meet your new recruits. Chapter 10. Hey everyone, I'm back. Hey everyone, I'm back. Don't forget to review. Just say anything in the review, smiley face. Quiz. Bankai. Both Zanpakutos combine 0 separate Zanpakutos 0. Able to combine and be separate 5. Kenpachi was extremely happy. Why? Because he got the strongest Shinigami student into his division. He was going to fight him. He walked into the academy and asked the receptionist where Uzumaki Naruto was located, and quickly charged to his dorm. Meanwhile, the other captains were walking towards to dorm as well, knowing that the 6 usually hung out in just one dorm. Kenpachi arrived first and kicked open the door. Where's Uzumaki Naruto? He's allocated in my division, Kenpachi said, his eyes radiating bloodlust. He's at the training grounds of the academy. Renji said. Once Kenpachi left, the other 5 captains came. Abarai Renji, you are to come with me in the 6th division. Kuchiki Byakuya said, and immediately turned around and walked away, only to have Renji follow him. Hello Hinamori Momo, I'm Sosuke Aizen, and I will be your captain in the 5th division, please follow me, Aizen said nicely, and immediately Hinamori was following him. Kira, please come with me to the 3rd division. I am Ichimaru Jin. And Kira left, following Jin. Matsumoto Rangaku, you are to be placed in the 10th division. My name is Hitsugaya Toshiro and I am your new captain. Please follow me, Toshiro said. Rukia, you are to be allocated in the 13th division with me. I am Yukitaki Jushiro, please come with me. And after that, everyone was gone with their respective captains. Meanwhile, Naruto was training in the academy training grounds, in order to improve his skills, to show to his Zanpakutos that he would get stronger and stronger. But suddenly, a huge figure in white robes attacked him. Blocking the blow with both swords, Naruto's strength was still being dwarfed by this newcomer. Damn it, I'm being pushed back, he thought. The figure jumped back and landed on the ground. Haha kid, good to see that you were able to block that. But don't hold back, fight me going all out. He screamed, and then Naruto realized who he was going against, the 11th Division's captain who was rumored to have the most Ryotsu and be the most sadistic. Kenpachi had his hair spiked up and with bells on the ends of his hair spikes. Naruto then went on the offensive and let out all his Ryotsu, shocking Kenpachi a little bit. Naruto first went for an aerial swing, but he was blocked, so he tried a leg sweep at Kenpachi's legs. Kenpachi jumped and successfully evaded Naruto's leg sweep, but failed to notice that Naruto had Shunpo Ed behind him and slashed him across the back. Blood spewed out and Kenpachi's grin grew bigger. Haha. You can even wound me. This is much more interesting than the other recruits. Kenpachi yelled as let loose his own Ryotsu, which was about 1.5 times bigger than Naruto's capacity. Kenpachi then suddenly started rapidly slashing at Naruto. The longer Naruto blocked, the more force Kenpachi came at him. Damn it. I have no choice. Incinerate with your mighty rays. Amaterasu. Naruto shouted, and for the second time, one of his Zanpakutos changed into a more lethal-looking sword. Flame Art. Potent Black Fire. Naruto shouted, and majestic black fire was launched towards Kenpachi, which he blocked with his own sword, not letting any of it burn him, although he could feel the strength of the raging fire. Time for my second attack. Flame Art, Dragon Fire, and his mighty sword generated a stream of extremely hot flames that increased the power of his black fire, pushed Kenpachi back a bit. Kenpachi then moved to the left and sent Ryotsu to his blade, giving it a yellow aura and just chopped through the mixture of 2 flames, making Naruto gasp in surprise. I won't let you win. Flame Art. Flaming Aura. After this was way, his sword started generating fire and the flames were then being absorbed by the blade, giving the blade a red aura surrounding it. Naruto then attacked Kenpachi head-on with his flaming sword, and Kenpachi did the same thing with his Ryotsu-enhanced blade. The 2 swords hit each other, and as soon as the ground suddenly flattened into a crater due to the spiritual pressure. Naruto quickly sheathed his sword and began Aikido. Blue fire crashed down and struck Kenpachi straight into his chest, which to Naruto's disappointment, made Kenpachi even more aggressive and in turn, made him stronger. Kenpachi quickly recovered from his hit and Shunpo Ed right behind Naruto, slicing his back with his sword. Naruto was in pain, but he would never cry out, surprising Kenpachi once again at his guts. The sadistic captain then proceeded to kick and punch Naruto, forcing Naruto to reach beyond his limits. Just as Naruto was about to take out his second Zanpakuto, he could only see Kenpachi's Zanpakuto centimeters away from striking his head. Closing his eyes, he wished for one thing. Naruto was in his mindscape again, and once again saw his 2 Zanpakuto spirits. Please lend me your power, lady. I do not wish to die at the hands of my new captain, Naruto said. I shall grant your wish. Please use my powers only for good. Now my name is, she said. Naruto's eyes suddenly opened, and if Kenpachi could look in them, he would see total determination and courage. Destroy everything with your winds, Tsukiyomi. Naruto shouted and a great gust suddenly blew over Naruto and a slightly visible shield was spinning right in front of Naruto, blocking Kenpachi Deathblow. Naruto's sword now had changed. It was now longer and wider and at the tip there were two more blades coming out of the sides. However, above the handle there was a big circle, with a moon crest on it and on both sides of the circle were two blades that were parallel to the blade in the middle, which was the real blade. Behold Kenpachi Taiko, my second Shikai. Now here's one of its techniques. Wind art. Pressurized spin. And a blast of wind suddenly emerged from his sword and hit Kenpachi's stomach, making his spit out a bit of blood. I like you kid, you're very powerful, suitable for my division. Kenpachi said. We'll stop our fight now, and follow me to the 11th division, and with that said, Naruto quickly shunpo-ed after his new captain Zaraki Kenpachi, towards his new living quarters, the 11th division. Arriving at the majestic building which housed the whole 11th division, Naruto could help but feel proud at being in such a strong division, especially if everyone was like his captain, although Naruto would rather his captain not be so sadistic or masochistic. Just as he walked in, a cry of "fresh meat" from Kenpachi as he attacked Naruto once again, and Naruto was forced to block his blow with one sword, and then attack with his other sword. But suddenly a pink blur sped towards Naruto's sword and blocked it from harming Kenpachi. Ken-chan, you know better than to kill rookies on their first day and besides, you already fought her 10 minutes earlier, the pink-haired child said. Hi, I'm Yachiru, the vice captain of this division. Who are you? Yachiru said. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Welcome to the 11th division. I'm going to call you Goldie from now on because of your hair. You better watch out for Baldy and ugly face, since they are going to want to fight you because of your reputation in the academy. Good luck Goldie. Yachiru said with lots of enthusiasm and hyperactiveness. The pink-haired vice captain walked away, and Naruto was left standing, awaiting any new orders. Whilst he was waiting, he saw two people fighting. One was a bald man and not very built, but Naruto could tell that he was very strong. The other person, however, looked like a man trying to look like a woman, but only on the face. But he too was radiating a powerful aura like his opponent. Akaku, Yumachika, escort our newest recruit to his new living quarters, Kenpachi roared, and immediately the two ceased their fighting and shunpo-ed next to Naruto. Lead the way guys. Naruto said, and he mentally noted their names, but didn't know which was which. I'm Akaku and he's Yumachika. The bald man, Akaku said, as if reading Naruto's mind. Who are you? I'm Uzumaki Naruto, newest recruit in this division. Naruto said uninterested. Okay, we'll lead the way now, Yumachika said, obviously giving Naruto the impression that he didn't want to talk to him any longer, so he just followed them. He walked past many rooms that belonged to many of the other Shinigami, but he was surprised at how many cabins there were. We're here now. There's a training schedule on the table in the room. We have a tournament every 2 weeks to assess new rankings since we must always have our Shinigami in their rightful position in the division. Later Naruto. Akaku said and shunpo-ed off with Yumachika, probably to resume their spar. Naruto walked in the room, and it was quite big for just one person to live in. He quickly organized his belongings and settled in. He picked up the schedule off the table and it read. Wake up at 6 a.m. and run laps around our division for 30 minutes. 6:30 a.m., breakfast. 7:30 a.m., we find individual please in our training grounds to practice our techniques. 10 a.m., find a partner and spar with them. After each spar, find a new partner. 1 p.m., lunch 2 p.m., Hakuda and Ho-Ho 4:30 p.m., Zanjutsu 7 p.m., dinner. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., your choice. Hey, I'm going to enjoy being here. Naruto said end, read and review. Chapter 11 Hey everyone, I'm back, read and review. Quiz. Bankai. Both Zanpakutos combine 0 separate Zanpakutos 0. Able to combine and be separate 8 wow. Choice C is totally dominating the quiz. I'd like to point out that if you look at my reviews, you only see 4 or 5 people choosing choice C. I would just like to say that the other 3 or 4 people have P-med me. On another note, Naruto's Zanpakutos are not keto-based. They're element-based Zanpakutos. They may not have direct abilities that are physical, but they increase Naruto's physical attributes or add certain elements to his Hakuda, making him stronger. Few days went by, and Naruto was enjoying every moment of it in this division. It was morning now, and the sun's rays came through the bedside window in Naruto's room, hitting Naruto's face and waking him up. Naruto quickly got dressed into his clothes. He was wearing a fishnet underneath his black t-shirt, which was underneath his black Shinigami robe. His robe had red lining on the edges, standing out. On the outside of his arms, he had metal plates taped onto his arms and shoulders, allowing his to block if his sword was out of reach. This was all covered by his Shinigami robe, so no one could see his defenses. However, on his wrists and legs, he had special kind weights that looked like wristbands and leg bands. The weights on his wrists both weighed 20 pounds, and the ones on his legs weighed 30 pounds, giving him a total of 100 pounds extra that he had to carry whilst moving. He proceeded to front of the 11th Division and joined the group that had already started running laps around their division, as part of everyone's training regimen. The purpose of running laps was to warm up their bodies for the rest of the day, and also increase their leg muscles and stamina, which increases their Ryotsu capacity over time. Zaraki Kenpachi was always the one who ran most laps, which was 46. Akaku and Yachiru were tied at second, running 38 laps, and with Naruto following up at third for 29 laps. He's wearing weights, so he needs time to adjust. After all the running, everyone was given breakfast. It consisted of a high-energy bar for the rest of the day, 2 bowls of cereal and a fruit of their choice. Breakfast lasted for only an hour, so if you didn't finish within the time limit, you'd be forced to move on to the next task. The next task in their regimen was to find a secluded place to practice their own techniques. The reason was because their captain Kenpachi didn't want everyone to have the same moves over and over again. His division was physically the strongest in the Gode 13, and he wanted it to stay that way. Naruto found a large area with many boulders and trees, but an open field as well. Naruto was thinking of creating new flame and wind techniques with his Shikais, but he also wanted to find out what other mysterious powers his Zanpakutos could have, so he meditated and went into his mindscape to find out. Slowly, his vision blurred, and no longer was he looking at the forest and grass. He was on a mountain slope and he could see the sky clearly, and just like before, the sky was separated into day and night, sun and moon. Then, 2 figures appeared from the sun, moon, and greeted Naruto. "Hello Naruto, did you need us for something?" Amaterasu said. "Hi Naruto, need anything?" Tsukiyomi said. "Hey Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi. I'm here to ask you a few questions," Naruto said politely. "Sure thing, what would you like to ask us?" Tsukiyomi said. "Well, apart from having control of the fire and wind elements, do you have any other special abilities?" Naruto asked. "Yes we do. I don't have another element, but I have many more abilities that you can use once you get stronger." Amaterasu said. "I can manipulate fire to any degree, as long as it's there and you can see or sense it. You can create fire inside yourself without burning yourself, and you can force it out of your pores, and this won't hurt or damage you, and create a 360-degree shield around yourself, and allies if you're skilled enough, and protect against anything besides a very strong water attack. You can also create fire in your fists or feet when you engage someone in Hakuda, giving them burns upon contact or rapid dehydration if you miss, because the fire will absorb their moisture. As well as converting multiple parts of your body into fire, so when you are hit, you remain unharmed and your opponent gets burned." "That's awesome!" Naruto exclaimed excitedly. He couldn't wait to test these abilities. "I do too Naruto," Tsukiyomi said. "Apart from controlling wind, I have control over illusions and ice. Also, you can convert natural wind into Ryotsu, healing yourself or replenishing your reserves or an ally's reserves. Likewise with Amaterasu, you can use generate wind into your hands or feet, so if you miss, the wind Ryotsu can still cut your opponent. My illusions, however, need eye contact in order to trap opponents into illusions. With my ice control, you can use it to give your body a permanent coating of ice, making your outer layer of skin as hard as steel, making physical contact on you useless. However, this skill needs your ice control to the maximum, since you must keep your control over your ice armor whilst engaged in combat." Tsukiyomi finished. "Great, but I guess I'll have to first refine my control over fire, wind, ice and illusions before using any of these cool powers. Do you have any ideas on increasing my control?" Naruto said. "Well, This is what you can do for fire, wind and ice. Take a leaf and focus your Ryotsu to burn, cut or freeze the leaf. Depending on how fast it burns, how big and smooth the cut it, and how cold the leaf is, you can see where your control is at the moment. When you can do this instantaneously with each element, try balancing 3 leaves on your palm and trying to burn 1, cut 1 and freeze 1. This will increase your control dramatically, and also boost your Ryotsu capacity a little, Amaterasu said. For your illusions, I'd suggest going to your mindscape and cast them on us. However, you must do this after your element control training, Tsukiyomi said. But now, you should get going with your training. It may have seemed that an hour has passed, but in reality only 10 minutes has passed. You should go now. And after that being said, Naruto was back in reality, dying to try out his new control techniques. Now in the real world and not in his mindscape, Naruto plucked many leaves from a tree and made a pile, so he didn't have to waste time getting leaves afterwards. I think I should start with ice first. After all, a good defense is a better offense, Naruto said and placed a leaf in his hands and started channeling ice Ryotsu into the leaf from his hands. He figured that his control would increase 2-fold if he had a leaf in both hands. Time went by, and it was time for everyone to move on to the next task in their training schedule. Naruto had only been able to freeze part of the leaf, and did not have complete control over his ice Ryotsu. Now everyone in the division was in the division's sparring grounds. The sparring grounds were very spacious, and could accompany everyone there. Kenpachi was going to sit this one out, as Yachiru talked him out of slaughtering Naruto. Yachiru was paired with Yumachika, and Naruto was with Akaku. Everyone else paired up as well. Everyone, start fighting! Kenpachi roared, and immediately everyone got into their respective stances and readied themselves for a fight. Naruto was against Akaku and immediately made the first move by unsheathing his swords and slicing Akaku horizontally. Akaku unsheathed his sword as well, but used his sheath as a second sword, blocking both of Naruto's swords and then jumping, giving Naruto a vertical slash. Naruto immediately shunpo-ed behind Akaku and slashed, only to have Akaku block with his sheath and then use his other sword to cut Naruto. Naruto blocked with his second sword and sheathed his other sword quickly and then shouted, "Red Flame Cannon!" And Akaku narrowly evaded the Kido, but he was still burnt a little bit on his arm. "You do know that Kido is considered forbidden in our division?" Akaku said. "Yeah, the 11th division is a physical fighting division. I bet Yamamoto-sama put me in this division because he thought that I could make this division stronger by balancing out Kido with Zanjutsu and Hakuda," Naruto said and unsheathed his sword again. "Incinerate with your mighty rays, Amaterasu!" Naruto yelled, bringing out his Shikai early to force Akaku to show him his Shikai. Naruto's sword changed shape, and Akaku could feel Naruto's Ryotsu and spiritual force was increasing dramatically, and also the air around them was feeling hotter and hotter. Akaku spiked his own Ryotsu and charged towards Naruto with both his sword and his sheath only to have both of them blocked, but then he kicked Naruto away. Naruto flipped in the air and winced. It was a very powerful kick. He had no choice, he had to use one of his most powerful fire attacks. Flame Art. Potent Black Fire. Naruto shouted and black fire immediately spewed out of Naruto's blade and was launched at Akaku. "Damn it! What's with all your Kido attack?" Akaku yelled. "They aren't Kido. This is an element," Naruto screamed and sent more Ryotsu into his blade. "Make the black fire bigger, hotter and faster. You leave me no choice. I rarely show new recruits this, but you are clearly stronger than normal people," Akaku said, closing his eyes and putting his sword and sheath in front of him. "Grow." "Hazukamaru!" Akaku yelled and unleashed his Shikai. End. Hope you liked it. By the way, in my story, an element in a manipulation of fire, wind, lightning, earth, water, ice, and etc. Aikido is a spell that summons the element. Naruto does like Kido, but he prefers the raw elements. Review and read. Chapter 12. Back everyone. Here's Chapter 11. Quiz. Bankai. A. Both Zanpakutos combine 0. B. Separate Zanpakutos 0. C. Able to combine and be separate 13 to whom it may concern. I had one reviewer who was flaming me because I was making a quiz for the Bankai, which was for Naruto. But I haven't shown the Bankai yet. Many of you, the readers, may be thinking the same thing. Where the F asterisk 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 is Naruto's Bankai if you're making a quiz about it? Well, my answer is, I want to see the reader's choice of the Bankai. Why would I show Naruto's Bankai so early? It'll make him overpowered and ruin my story. I'm ending the quiz at the end of Chapter 12, and Bankai will happen later in the story. I'm the writer, you're the reader. Put yourself in my shoes, walk a mile and then see how you feel about me not revealing Bankai. The next thing. I guess some people are thinking that Naruto would always have to rely on his element attacks of his Kido spells. I'm going to surprise you guys by adding some physical abilities, attacks and also some sword techniques. Hope you enjoy. Akaku unleashed his Shikai, and immediately his Ryotsu sky rocketed. His sword and sheath glowed with white light as they fused and formed into a long spear, Naginata. At the tip, there was a red ribbon-like thing dangling below the sharp edge. He disappeared suddenly and Naruto lost track of him, until Akaku reappeared, right in front of Naruto and proceeded to slash, hack and slice at him. Many blows were either blocked or dodged, but Akaku still managed to graze or cut Naruto many times. Akaku swung his sword at Naruto's legs, and Naruto jumped, avoiding the slash, but was immediately blown back by Akaku's kick. Damn, that guy is strong. I guess I'll have to try and use the ice armor. Naruto thought, and concentrated on bringing out Ryotsu to layer over his skin and convert it into ice. Naruto succeeded in covering himself in his own invisible armor, so he quickly turned back to Akaku and went on the offensive. He hacked and slashed at Akaku, but all were blocked by his extremely long Shikai. Now I'll show you one of my Zanpakuto's abilities, Naruto said with a smirk, and he channeled Ryotsu into Amaterasu and converted it into Fire Ryotsu, to cover the whole blade with a very hot layer. Naruto immediately slashed at Akaku, but was disappointed as Akaku dodged instead of blocked. He wanted to break or at least melt a part of Akaku's Zanpakuto. Seeing Akaku flip backwards, Naruto shunpo-ed behind him and made a vertical slice. Akaku sensed his presence, and used his sword to block. Naruto smirked and allowed his sword to be blocked, as the hot layer started turning Akaku's Zanpakuto brownish. Akaku was momentarily surprised and Naruto used his second Zanpakuto to slice Akaku, but missed and only cut Akaku's leg. The bald swordsman winced as the cut on his leg was quite deep. He clenched his teeth and spiked his Ryotsu further, making dust and dirt on the ground fly up wildly. Naruto was forced to use one arm to cover his face, as he didn't want dust or dirt blinding him temporarily, allowing him to lose the spar. Destroy everything with your winds, Tsukiyomi! Naruto shouted and flared his own Ryotsu, trying to equal Akaku's sudden Ryotsu spike. He was getting close to outputting the same amount, but Akaku suddenly disappeared and at the same second, Naruto did. 2. A split second later, the two reappeared. Naruto had both swords in a cross and was against Akaku's strength and spear. Both were in a stalemate, and both of them weren't giving up. You know, I do have the upper hand, Akaku. Wind art, cyclone, Naruto said, and a small tornado suddenly materialized around Tsukiyomi. Naruto then shunpo-ed backwards, and launched the cyclone. As the cyclone sped towards Akaku, it got bigger and bigger, and when it was at point-blank range with Akaku, it was about the height and width of him too. Akaku was surprised at Naruto's sudden attack, and didn't have much time to dodge. He tried to shunpo away, but half of his body was caught by the tornado. It completely shredded his clothes, and gave Akaku plenty of cuts and grazes to remember Naruto by. Not even sparing a moment, Akaku charged forwards and delivered a strong series of kicks to Naruto, who was too exhausted from using a lot of Ryotsu in his last attack. Naruto was panting. He was nearly exhausted and out of Ryotsu. He was crouching down with his left arm supporting his weight. Damn it, Akaku doesn't even seem as tired as I am. Is this the gap between recruits and seated officers? Naruto thought, but he was cut short as Akaku jumped again, aiming a kick at Naruto's chest. Naruto was too tired to completely dodge, so he blocked with his right arm. As Akaku jumped away from Naruto, he saw Naruto slowly trying to stand up, but his right arm looked broken. Hey, seemed my kick broke his arm. Now I can finally show him how a seated officer from Kenpachi's division fights. By this time, Naruto stood up, but his right arm dangled on his side as one of his Zanpakutos lay on the ground beside him. Clutching his other sword in his left hand, He swiftly charged at Akaku, hoping for him to be caught off guard. Akaku saw this coming in. Immediately blocked with his Naginata, and with his superior strength compared to Naruto's left hand, he forced Naruto back and then kicked him in the chest, causing the weak ice armor to shatter into little bits of ice and also wind Naruto, giving him trouble to breathe. Damn it. My right arm is broken and my chest hurts like hell. I might as well injure him before I pass out, Naruto said to himself and dropped his sword. The moment his sword dropped, he unleashed a Kido using the last of his remaining energy. Red Flame Cannon. The red ball of fire caught Akaku off guard and he was forced to block with the tip of his Naginata, stopping him from being injured by most of the attack. But little flecks of sparks and fire flew onto him, burning him slightly and causing minor amounts of pain. By this time, Naruto had already passed out and was on the floor. A few hours later, Naruto woke up in a bed. He lied on the bed not moving. His muscles still ached after Akaku's fight, and he found his right arm in a sling and his chest slightly bandaged. He turned his neck to the side and saw his two Zanpakutos. Hey, that was a great fight you put up there, Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi. Naruto thought as someone walked in. Hello Naruto-kun. You are quite the troublemaker, you know. You've been here the most times out of all the recruits, Hana Taiko said. Hee. Well, I am the hardest worker out of all the recruits. You can't expect to be strong without training hard, Naruto replied. True Naruto-kun, but be careful next time you fight. You're lucky to have such great amounts of Ryotsu, because you'd have passed out from Ryotsu exhaustion from the amount of energy you use in a day, Hana said. Well, it's lucky I have an increased healing factor. Say, when am I going to get out of hospital? Naruto asked. It's best for you to leave tomorrow morning. Your muscles need some rest and you need a break from training so much. I'll drop by Kenpachi's office and tell him. Thank you Hana Taiko. Naruto said. Meanwhile in the 11th division, the recruits were gossiping about Naruto Uzumaki, the one that was fighting Akaku, the third seeder. I heard he was a prodigy in the academy, one recruit said. You don't say, he lasted like an hour or two with Akaku, another said. And he has two Zanpakutos, not to mention he knows both swords. Shikai, lucky brat. You know, people are really starting to look up at Naruto. Maybe he wasn't such a bad recruit after all. But still, using Kido might earn him a punishment, Akaku said to Yumachika. Sorry for the short chapter. I'll write longer ones next time. Chapter 13. Here's Chapter 13. Please read, review and enjoy. Quiz. Bankai, ended. A. Both Zanpakutos combine 0. B. Separate Zanpakutos 0. C. Able to combine and be separate 14 to the readers. Although I have said this before, I'd like to remind everyone that Naruto's Zanpakutos are not Kido-based. Also, at the end of this chapter, I will include all of Naruto's special attacks and give you all information on them. Many of you may be thinking if Renji or Rukia have any of these special attacks. Well, they do, it's just not revealed yet. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that Bankai will be later on, and Renji's, Rukia's Shikai's will be shown very soon. Naruto was currently sitting in Kenpachi's office, receiving the most sadistic lecture from the most sadistic person ever. Naruto. I know that you know that Kido is considered forbidden in our division because of our reputation of winning with brute strength. What do you think our reputation will be once the rest of the Gode 13 hears about you using Kido-based attacks in a spar? A spar. Kenpachi roared. It was surprising for Naruto, since he wouldn't expect Kenpachi to be this serious, and also not be lusting for blood. Although I wasn't there to hear it, I know this happened. Yamamoto-sama thought that by me joining your division, I could strengthen your soldiers by balancing their Kido, or at least improve their Kido, so they don't have to rely on brute strength. I know I may have used Kido in my spar against Akaku, but you have to realize that most of the attacks I performed was a manipulation of a certain element, such as fire and wind. Yamamoto-sama gave me a mission just by putting me in this division, and I will not give up until it is completed. Naruto said, looking straight into Kenpachi's eyes, fighting off the Ryotsu pressure with just pure stubbornness. You have guts, kid, that's what I like about you. I won't prohibit you from using Kido in here, but you have to use it when you must. This is not negotiable, and I will not take no for an answer. However, if soldiers personally want you to teach them a few tricks, I have no complaints about that. But you better start creating more techniques that involve your swords, not manipulating elements. Kenpachi said.
I agree to your terms, Kenpachi Taiko. What about my punishment? Naruto said, hoping for Kenpachi to let this one quarrel slide.
Damn kid, you really got guts. Asking for a punishment is brave. Run 100 laps around the division non-stop. If anyone catches you slacking, they'll report to me and your laps will double. Move it. Kenpachi roared, taking out his blade and slicing the air, which was where Naruto was a second ago. Meanwhile, Renji was training his Zanjutsu by setting up himself in front of many trees. His idea was to see how strong his sword swing was, by counting the number of trees that were cut. Drawing his sword, he yelled, "Howl, Zabumaru!" And as he released his Shikai, white light enveloped his sword, and transformed it into a completed different sword. The new Zanpakuto had different sections, each ended with a sharp hook on the end. Swinging his sword, each section was separated with a foreign material, capable of stretching to Renji's will, and also allowing the sword to reach far away. Renji swung his Zanpakuto against the field of trees and immediately the trees fell on contact with Renji's deadly Shikai. Damn, only 8 trees cut. I'll have to get to 20 if I want to stand a chance against Naruto. Naruto was tired after running so many laps. He never once stopped, for fear of being seen by others and then having to run double the laps. Damn it. Naruto huffed, obviously exhausted after running 100 laps. I think I'll go get some rest. I will definitely master fire, wind, and ice by the end of this week. Naruto finished, determined to get stronger with each day, oblivious to Renji's and Rukia's current training. In the meantime, Rukia was currently training herself ferociously. As time went by, she had slowly become tired. No, I can't give up. I mustn't lose to Naruto or Renji. And with her renewed power, she sliced through another tree and scorched a nearby tree with the red flame cannon. I shall attain such an extraordinary mastery over my Kido skills, even Naruto would be jealous. Hedo binding, shock restraint. And with that yell, the trees that were blasted with this new type of Kido suddenly collapsed under the pressure of her binding spell and the lightning power infused with it. Hee Naruto, Renji, next time we spar, you won't see this coming. Rukia smirked, as she carried on with her new arsenal of Hedo binding, flame restraint, Hedo binding, freeze restraint. Another leaf froze under the ice Ryotsu that Naruto was putting into the leaf. Damn it. I've successfully frozen a whole leaf, but I still can't freeze it fast enough. It takes a huge amount of my concentration and also takes 15 seconds, enough for an enemy to kill, or at least severely wound me. Maybe I should start working on some sword techniques, as Kenpachi Taiko told me. He'll probably want to see them in my next few spars. Naruto said, talking to himself. I think I should work on a heavy power move, able to injure someone harshly. Maybe a sword technique that solely focuses on crippling the enemy? I think that if I can channel some wind Ryotsu to the sharp edge and tip of Tsukiyomi, I could increase the cutting capabilities of a new finishing blow. As Naruto thought about it, he decided that he wanted a concentrated amount of Ryotsu covering the tip of his blade and then aiming the tip at the target. Naruto then unsheathed Tsukiyomi, and then did as he planned. First, he generated a generous amount of wind Ryotsu into the tip of his blade, then aiming the tip at a tree, he quickly Shunpo-ed straight forward and horizontally stabbed the tree, leaving a hole as big as his sword. Damn! It only made a hole from the sword. Naruto was cut off as the area surrounding the hole suddenly exploded and debris flew everywhere, leaving a much bigger hole in the tree, but not destroying the whole tree. That's most like it. But I think I should rotate the wind Ryotsu, giving it more power because the Ryotsu would act like a drill and grind the target. I'll just keep trying until I get it right. In the vicinity of the next few hours, Naruto just trained by upping his weights by 5 pounds each and performing the ice armor whilst using his finishing move, which he dubbed Whirlwind Stab. Sorry for the short chapter here, but I just wanted to focus on Naruto, Renji and Rukia training to become stronger. Don't worry, you'll see Rukia's Shikai soon. Also, I'm not sure if I should include the Ichigo in my story, as I want it to solely revolve around Naruto and his adventures with Renji and Rukia. As promised, here are the descriptions for Naruto's attacks. Kido, elements, sword techniques, it's all here. in order of which attacks he learns, uses. Binding spell. Restraint rank. Academic danger. Lesser medium Ryotsu cost, low. Description. An academic binding spell which is taught to the students of the Seirei Academy. It is most commonly used for restraining someone, hence the name. Restraint can be used in battles where your opponent is quicker than you, or if you want to buy some time for recovering or retreating. Can be followed up with many other dangerous attacks if caught in this spell. Hado. Red Flame Cannon rank. Academic danger. Lesser medium Ryotsu cost, low. Description. An academic Hado spell which is taught to the students of the Seirei Academy. It is not commonly used because of more powerful spells, but when Shinigami are low on Ryotsu, they tend to use this spell to stall for time, which can be used for recovering physical injuries. It is a compressed ball of Ryotsu that becomes fire on contact, burning the target. Hado. Blue Fire Crash Down rank. Academic danger, nearly medium. Ryotsu cost, low. Average description. An academic Hado spell which is taught to the students of the Seirei Academy. It is commonly used because of its power compared with its Ryotsu cost, making it an ideal spell for spars or battles. All can be used to blind an opponent for a minuscule amount of time and allows the user to recover from injuries for a short period of time. It is a ball of blue fire which is controlled by the user and it releases a high amount of blue fire which can be dangerous if hit by all of it. Shunpo rank. Academic Captain danger. Medium-high Ryotsu cost, medium. Description. A Ryotsu-powered burst of speed which can be used consecutively. There are weak versions of Shunpo that is taught to the academy. It can be very dangerous if used correctly and also uses a lot of Ryotsu if the user is not careful about the usage of Shunpo. Hado. Total Darkness rank. Academic danger. Medium Ryotsu cost, low. Description. An academic Hado spell which is taught to the students of the Seirei Academy. It is often used to stall for time, but can be used for offensive purposes, such as attacking the opponent whilst they are still blinded by the darkness. Not commonly used, because of students and Shinigami disregarding the potential of this Hado, in favor of the more offensive Hado, like Red Flame Cannon or Blue Fire Crash Down. Hado. Freezing Burst. Rank. Academic danger. Lesser medium Ryotsu cost, average. Description. An academic Hado spell which is taught to the students of the Seirei Academy. It is used to freeze opponents and to stall for time. It is not commonly used, because of the blue fire crash down overshadowing this spell, due to the Ryotsu cost. The attack can come in two forms. A compressed ball of ice which shats on impact, or a shower of icicles that vary in size. Naruto Hado. Combination of two flames rank. Shinigami seated officer. Danger. Medium greater Ryotsu cost. Medium high description. A unique Hado that combines both the red flame cannon and blue fire crash down to create a compressed purple ball that explodes on impact. Danger is proportional to the distance of creation and impact, and is also affected by the amount of Ryotsu in the Hado. This attack is purely for offense in the situations of use. Hado. Blue Lightning Annihilation rank. Academic Shinigami danger, medium. Ryotsu cost. Medium description. A Hado spell that is often used by some Shinigami for its power. It is taught at the Seirei Academy, but only Naruto, Renji and Rukia learned it that day, because everyone else skipped class. It creates lightning strikes that attack the designated opponent. Mostly used for offense, as its power is higher than the other Hado spells. Sword Art. Twin Sword Blast rank. Shinigami seated officer danger, medium greater. Ryotsu cost. Medium high description. A unique sword technique that can only be used by Naruto. It compresses Ryotsu at the tips of both blades and is materialized by slashing at the direction of the target, launching two parallel strikes. Not used often by Naruto, since it tires him more than the Naruto Hado. Combination of two flames, but the power and potential is greater. This attack is purely for offense in the situations of use. Hado. White Light rank. Teacher Shinigami danger, low medium. Ryotsu cost. Medium description. The Hado spell to get rid of Hado. Total darkness. It can also be used to blind an opponent for a while. Useless against people who can fight with their eyes closed, or against blind people. Not usually used for offensive purposes, mostly defensive or negating Hado. Total Darkness. Naruto Hado. Flaming Icicles rank. Shinigami lower seated officer danger. Medium. Ryatsu cost. Medium high description. An attack which combines blue fire crash down and freezing burst to set fire to the icicles, causing much Muro damage. Is not used very much because of its high Ryatsu cost, because it takes lots of Ryatsu to combine a fire and ice Hado together. Can be used for offensive purposes or distracting opponents. Sword Art. Spinning Blades rank. Shinigami seated officer danger. Medium greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. An attack involving the user spinning their Zanpakuto with Ryatsu, and controlling it with a thread of Ryatsu. However, this attack leaves the user vulnerable to other attacks. But, this attack causes great damage at the cost of lots of Ryatsu. This attack is purely for offense in the situations of use. Naruto style. Swirling Tornado rank. Shinigami seated officer danger. Medium greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. An attack which uses the rotation of Ryatsu to destroy targets. It is used to slay many hollows and is an offensive and defensive attack at the same time. It is a very dangerous attack, which is capable of severely injuring you if you are targeted by this attack. Naruto Hado. Ice Shock combination rank. Shinigami lower seated officer danger. Medium. Ryatsu cost. Medium description. A unique Hado which combines Hado, freezing burst and Hado, blue lightning annihilation. It creates a series of icicles that rain down on enemies and are infused with the power of lightning as well, increasing the damage. Secret skill. Element fusion. Rank. Seated officer danger. Greater Ryatsu cost. Higher. Description. This attack allows the user to fuse one of their Hado spells into their Zanpakuto, increasing the power of the sword by several fold. It is shown to make multiple cuts on Amanos Grande's neck from Naruto's Zanpakuto, in its sealed form. Flame Art. Potent Black Fire rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryatsu cost. Higher description. This is an element manipulation attack which can only be used in Naruto's Shikai, Amaterasu. The sword takes a lot of Ryatsu from Naruto and converts it into a very dangerous black fire, nearly on par with a medium Sero. Also able to absorb the users Hado to strengthen the fire. Flame Art. Dragonfire. Rank. Lower seated officer danger. Medium greater Ryatsu cost. High. Description. An attack which was made to complement the Flame Art, potent black fire, and increase its damage. However, this attack can also be used by itself, which can cause harsh burns to the target. Likewise with Flame Art. Potent black fire. This can only be used during Naruto's Shikai, Amaterasu. Flame Art. Flaming Aura rank. Shinigami lower seated officer danger. Medium greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. A skill that allows Amaterasu, Naruto's Shikai, to absorb flames until a red-hot aura surrounds the blade, increasing the damage by several fold. Similar to Flame Art. Dragonfire, it can only be used during Shikai. This attack can melt some of the strongest materials, but also depends on the intensity of Ryatsu given to the blade. Wind Art. Pressurized Spin rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. An attack that is focused around Naruto's second Shikai, Tsukiyomi, and can only be used during this Shikai. The Zanpakuto creates a spin made of wind Ryatsu around the sword and launches it at the target, causing cuts on the area of impact. Ice Armor rank. Seated officer danger. Lesser medium Ryatsu cost. High. Description. A protective layer of invisible ice that covers the user. The ice is made from the user's Ryatsu, and is able to soften the damage done to the user. This skill is hard to master, but is very beneficial. Can only be learned if the user has an affinity with ice. Wind Art. Cyclone rank. Lower seated officer danger. Medium greater. Ryatsu cost. Medium high description. Weaker than Wind Art. Pressurized Spin. An attack that is focused around Naruto's second Shikai, Tsukiyomi, and can only be used during this Shikai. The Zanpakuto creates a spin made of wind Ryatsu around the sword and launches it at the target, causing cuts on the area of impact. Chapter 14. Hey everyone. Thanks for all the reviews. I'd like to remind everyone that the Bankai poll is gone, so the voting ends now. Enjoy this chapter. Read and review, guys. Trees fell towards the ground as massive planks of wood or tiny splinters erupted from where a certain blue-eyed blonde was training. Whirlwind stab. Whirlwind stab. Whirlwind stab. Naruto yelled as he continuously struck trees with his new technique. Sword art. Spinning blades. Sword art. Twin sword blast. Secret skill. Whirlwind stab. Naruto yelled as he unleashed his most powerful sword techniques. His swords spun at first and demolished a few trees, and then his two Zanpakutos returned to Naruto's hands and launched a concentrated blast of Ryotsu at another patch of trees, destroying them as well. Finally, he sheathed Amaterasu and pointed the tip of Tsukiyomi in the remaining trees. Gathering Ryotsu at the tip, he performed his strongest attack, causing all sizes of wood and bark and splinters flying everywhere. Damn it, I'm nearly out of Ryotsu. I need to expand my Ryotsu capacity and also improve my Ryotsu control. I can still feel that I'm wasting some excess Ryotsu in some of my attacks. Naruto said. Maybe I should practice my Shunpo. It did improve my control before. After conversing with himself, Naruto proceeded to run at a tree as fast as he could, and then Shunpo at the last second, improving his reflexes and speed. Then he reappeared behind the tree and used Twin Sword Blast, obliterating the tree because it was at point-blank range. He kept repeating this, but changed the attack at the end. Whether it was spinning blades or whirlwind stab, he did it with no hesitation. Wait until Renji or Rukia spar with me. I'll be ready for whatever they've done, Naruto said. Meanwhile, Renji was about to start fighting with Rukia, just to see his progress from training hard. He wanted to see how his Shikai fared against other Shinigami, and who else to test it on other than Rukia. She was about the same skill level as Renji, and Renji knew that she was training as well. It was exactly the same with Rukia as well. She wanted to see how strong her Hado binding spells were against a real person. She suddenly saw Renji getting into a Zanjutsu stance, and knew her first round would be about Zanjutsu. She quickly unsheathed her sword and held it directly in front of her, both hands on the hilt of the blade. Charging with a war cry, Renji jumped and went for a downward slash. Rukia dodged to the left and parried his sword with her right hand. Red flame cannon. She yelled and unleashed a small red ball at Renji from point-blank range, which Renji anticipated and retaliated with his own blue fire crash down, but due to his lesser control over his Kido, the two spells cancelled each other out and blew both opponents away. Rukia reacted quickly and went in for a horizontal slash, which nearly hit Renji, but he used the Academy version of Shunpo to dodge it. He then Shunpo-ed behind Rukia and tried to leg sweep Rukia, to which she jumped and avoided unfortunately. Both fighters suddenly jumped back and began chanting, with a cry of, Blue Lightning Annihilation, and, Freezing Burst, both. Renji and Rukia were engaged in a battle of dominance. Renji's spell was superior in power, but Rukia had the control. Both Hado spells went head-to-head, each fighter pouring more and more Ryotsu into their spell, trying to gain the upper hand. Suddenly, Rukia unexpectedly shouted, Red Flame Cannon. And Renji was so surprised that he was stunned for a second, which was enough for Rukia's spell to hit Renji in the chest. However, this didn't come without consequences, as Rukia's control over her first spell went down, and was hit with Renji's lightning Hado, causing injuries for both of them. Both of them flew back at an amazing rate, but Renji managed to use Ryotsu to attract him towards the ground, therefore softening his fall and allowing him to get up quicker. Rukia, however, thought of this but was concentrating on her weakest Hado binding, as combining two types of Kido needed lots of concentration. Once Renji got back up, he quickly charged towards Rukia with his sword in his right hand, ignoring the painful aches that he experienced in his chest. As he neared Rukia, he saw her standing and muttered something whilst pointing at Renji. Ignoring this, Renji continued to run towards Rukia, rearing his sword about to make a slash, but his right arm couldn't move. In fact, his whole body couldn't move. What happened? What did you do? Renji stuttered, as he felt a hot pain around his body. You want to know what happened? Rukia said and then coughed up a little bit of blood. I used one original spells on you, it's my weakest. Rukia smirked and started running towards Renji. Her sword was sheathed, but Renji still knew she was going to hurt him, badly. As Rukia neared, she reared her fist and punched Renji in the stomach, which he couldn't block because he couldn't move. Rukia then continued to unleash a flurry of punches and kicks on Renji. Not once did Renji cry out in pain, he only winced, slowly. Rukia's energy lessened, and Renji could feel her weird spell weakening, so he shouted, "Howl, Zabumaru," and after he revealed his Shikai, his Ryotsu immediately skyrocketed, dwarfing Rukia's own Ryotsu and also breaking the spell cast on him. How? Rukia asked rhetorically. First Naruto gets 2 Shikais and then Renji learns his Zanpakuto's name. I can only hope that my newly created Hado binding spells can stand a chance, but I have hit him much more times when he was restrained, so I still stand a chance of winning. That's it, I'm pulling out all the stops. Rukia said. Hado binding, shock restraint, and a yellow bolt of lightning suddenly flew from Rukia's fingers towards Renji at an impressive speed. Renji was shocked at the prospect of Hado binding and was hit again. Coming back to his senses, he released an intense wave of Ryotsu, breaking through Rukia's spell. Hado binding, flame restraint, freeze restraint. Rukia yelled as another 2 of her new spells, which was quickly launched at Renji, but this time, Renji just swung his sword at both spells, surprising Rukia as his Shikai could reach lengths no other Zanpakuto could reach, and dissipated her Hado binding. He then swung his sword so that it would slash the front of Rukia, but she also used the academic version of Shunpo and dodged the brunt of the attack, leaving her with a few minor cuts on her right arm. She then unsheathed her sword and began Zanjutsu dueling Renji, constantly fending off Renji's long-reaching Zanpakuto. Rukia saw an opening and yelled quickly, "Red flame cannon." And just like before, a compressed ball of fire hit Renji and exploded into flames, hurting Renji and also forcing him to discard his sword, as the flames targeted his sword arm. Knowing that he would be beaten if he continued in close range, he jumped back and started chanting. Rukia knew that this was a powerful Kido, because of the distance and the chanting that Renji had to do. Immediately she charged towards Renji and slashed at him, whilst Renji launched a blue lightning annihilation towards her, causing a double knockout. As the 2 lay there with blood seeping out of their wounds, Rukia's captain, Yukatake Taiko, was walking past the training grounds and saw the 2, unconscious on the ground from sparring too fiercely. He carried both of them in each arm, and Shunpo ed to the 4th division, giving Renji and Rukia to Unohana Taiko to heal and take care of. Naruto was completely oblivious to his friend's duel, as he kept training his Ryotsu capacity and control. This time, he unleashed both his Shikai, and kept running towards trees, hacking away at boulders, Shunpo-ing behind invisible targets and slashing. Sword art. Twin sword blast. He yelled and 2 large horizontal and vertical waves were fired from his sword. As the 2 waves collided in midair, it formed a cross and then struck a boulder, leaving its mark embedded very deeply. Again. Sword art. Twin sword blast. Naruto repeated and another huge cross of Ryotsu was sent flying towards the same boulder, cracking it, but not completely breaking it. Damn it. It'll take 3 shots of twin sword blast when my Zanpakutos are in Shikai to destroy a large boulder, Naruto said, and you could tell he was annoyed by the tone of his voice. Secret skill. Whirlwind stab. And he ran towards the cracked boulder, sword tip pointing at it. He mustered all the Ryotsu Tsukiyomi could take and blasted through the boulder, sending smaller rocks flying everywhere. Immediately aiming at another boulder, he cried, Naruto style. Swirling tornado. And wind suddenly picked up around him and started to swirl in a circular motion. With a small war cry, the tornado was suddenly launched into the air, and then crashed down towards the boulder, grinding the boulder and send small rocks flying everywhere just like before. Hee. Looks like this attack is stronger, but it takes nearly twice as much Ryotsu as the twin sword blast. But nevertheless, I am getting stronger and going to become a seated officer. Naruto shouted into the forest at the end, startling birds and sending them flying away. Thanks for reading. Chapter 15. Hey everyone, it's summer holidays for me, so I'll be updating more frequently. As always, read and review. To Kasek. Thanks for telling me Kasek, but for the story's sake, it's just going to be like this. Consider this Rangaku an OOC, out of character. but thanks for pointing out my mistake. Tamara. I don't know that Amaterasu is a goddess and Tsukiyomi is a god, but I wanted to switch it around, as it'd make more sense that the calm and cool Tsukiyomi is a goddess and the fiery Amaterasu is a god. No worries though. To everyone who is wondering, the reason I'm not making Naruto a seated officer is because he lacks the real-life combat experience. In each of his spars, he has the luxury of knowing that either Renji or Rukia or Akaku would stop before killing Naruto completely, but the Hollows and Manos Grandes would not hesitate to kill Naruto. Naruto needs to learn to adapt to these situations, and that is why he hasn't tried to go for a seated position. Also, I'd like you guys to either PM or review to tell me of your opinions on Naruto being either a Visored, or an Arrancar, Espada. Last thing, Kenpachi will be a little bit out of character, OOC. Like a bit more maturity and sense. 13 figures all dressed in white robes assembled in a large room. Yamamoto, the first division's captain, was at the front, whilst the other 12 captains divided themselves into 2 lines. I thank you all for coming today. Yamamoto said. It has come to my attention that Aizen Taiko has placed a request with me about a certain Shinigami in the 11th division, and has given some arguable reasons. I'd like to discuss this with the rest of the Gode 13, as we are talking about a Shinigami with great amounts of potential, Uzumaki Naruto. Aizen Taiko, please start us off with your argument. Thank you, Yamamoto Taiko. Firstly, I want to acknowledge that he is a very strong Shinigami recruit that has recently come out of the academy. It is shown that he has created many attacks, defended himself and his friends from countless amounts of hollows and Amanos Grande, which is a huge feat, and the fact that he has dual Zanpakutos and knows both Shikais. Aizen took a deep breath. However, I think that it's more beneficial to the 5th division than the 11th division if he comes under us. This is because there have been uproars in the 11th division about him using Kido or element-based attacks in spars. Surely Kenpachi Taiko can testify for us. Yeah, Aizen, it's true. There have been many accounts where the other recruits have been insulting Naruto because he broke a very strict rule within my division, Kenpachi said. Yes. Also, according to his teachers and friends, his Zanjutsu and Hikuda exceed his Kido, which is nearly unbelievable unless there was an eyewitness, and there are many, such as Aburai Renji in the 6th division or Kuchiki Rukia in the 13th division. This tells us that his physical skills exceed his Kido, therefore making him more of a hands-on fighter. But as Yamamoto Taiko said when we were allocating him to the 11th division, Naruto was only put there to balance out Kido with the other recruits, and this is a failed attempt. Not only do they consider Kido even worse than before, they are starting to curse it and dislike Naruto, which can become a problem in the future if they work together on missions. Aizen took another deep breath. I request that Naruto can be placed into my division, as none of my recruits or seated officers dislike him. Kido is not forbidden in the 5th division, and that he could help me strengthen the rest of my soldiers in Zanjutsu and Hikuda, giving the 5th division a big boost in strength, which can help in future missions and in the worst-case scenario, an invasion of some sort. They are very good and well-thought-out reasons, Aizen Taiko, but is Kenpachi Taiko willing to part with such a strong Shinigami who has lots of potential? Yamamoto said. I don't hold any grudges against Uzumaki, and I'd be willing to help if he's in danger, but for the good of the 11th division, the fighting division, I accept Aizen's proposal, Kenpachi said. Then this meeting is finished. Aizen Taiko, please go find Uzumaki Naruto and tell him of the arrangement. Thank you all for coming, Yamamoto said. After the meeting was adjourned, Aizen, Jin and Tusen appeared in Aizen's secret office, right below his real office. Good going, Aizen, that's one obstacle down, Jin said. Yes, Jin, but it's going to take a long time to convert Naruto into joining us. We may have to postpone the operation, Aizen said. But as long as Naruto joins, we'll be unstoppable, and then once everything is completed, the world will be at peace. Tusen said, still a firm believer of peace and light. You two must go back to your divisions. I'm going to find Naruto now, Aizen said, and the 3 Shunpo ed away. Meanwhile, Naruto was still training. It was the 5th day of the week that he had been relentlessly training, and he had basically mastered his new finishing attack and improved his speed, not mention that his Ryotsu capacity had grown considerably after his usage of high Ryotsu costing abilities. He had also gained much experience and control over his art of Flame Fist, but he still decided that needed more time to incorporate it into his own fighting style. As he continued training, he couldn't help but notice another presence nearby him, and Naruto felt that the stranger's Ryotsu was really potent and could also feel a lot of it. Must be a captain. Watching me. She must be purposely letting a bit of their control slip just to test if I can sense them. Glancing at the area where he felt the presence, Naruto said, "Come out, I know you're there, Taiko." The last part was just to mock and try to intimidate the newcomer. "It seems you're well aware of your surroundings. That's good. Naruto-kun. I'm here just to relay a message for you. My name is Sosuke Aizen, and I'm the captain of the 5th Division, by the way." Aizen said, "Okay Aizen Taiko. What message would you like to give me?" Naruto said. "He looks a bit too friendly, isn't Hinamori in the 5th Division?" Naruto thought as he waited for Aizen to give him the message. "Well, due to unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances, you have been moved to the 5th Division," Aizen said with a polite smile. "But why?" Naruto drifted off until he suddenly got it. "It's because of the 11th Division's complaining about me, right? They don't want me in their division because it could cause riots, because Kido is forbidden." "You are a smart person, Naruto-kun. Let me give you a brief description of the 5th Division," Aizen said. "The 5th Division is a Kido-based division, and likewise with the 11th Division. Yamamoto Su Taiko and I thought that your extreme physical fighting skills could train my division improve their own skills, such as Zanjutsu and Hakuda. Also, as I said before, this is a Kido-based division, and we many created quite a few new Kido spells. You could benefit from the 5th Division, as much as the 5th Division can benefit from you," Aizen said. "I see. Have you and Yamamoto-sama discussed this matter with Kenpachi Taiko?" Naruto asked. "Yes, we have. There was a Gote 13 meeting and all of the captains know and agree with this arrangement. If you're not busy right now, I'd like for you to come with me to the 5th Division sparring grounds and spar with a friend of yours, Hinamori Momo," Aizen said. "Okay, Aizen Taiko. Just lead the way," Naruto said. In the meantime, Hinamori Momo was currently practicing the new Kido on the scroll that her captain Aizen gave her. She really adored and admired her Taiko. Hado. Thunderstorm. Hado. Fire Blast. Hado. Raging Blizzard. Hinamori yelled consecutively, and then a sudden bolt of lightning appeared and struck the ground. After that, a large stream of fire and ice appeared in each of her hands and then she launched it at a boulder, melting the top and freezing the bottom. After performing the 3 high-level spells, Hinamori was panting on her knees. "Damn it, how can I prove to Aizen Taiko that I'm a strong and promising Shinigami when I get exhausted after only 3 high-level spells?" End of story. Hee. The spar of Naruto vs Hinamori will be next chapter. Read and review. Chapter 16. Hey everyone. Thanks for all the reviews. My reply as always. To Amsidar. Don't worry, I won't make Naruto manipulated by Aizen. I have some special plans for Naruto and Aizen. To Hollow Naruto. I have not decided to make Naruto go with Aizen. To Incinar 8. Yeah, I'll make Kenpachi back to normal. Thanks for telling me the aftermath of going too out of character. To Fallen Ryu. I'm still not sure about the whole Espada, Visored thing. I'm wondering if I should take away his Bankai if he becomes an Espada, Visored. I just feel that having Hollow pose and 2 Bankais would make him too overpowered, but I do have something else in mind. To Valavarayan. You have to remember Naruto had a really rough life in Konoha. He was assassinated by a Konoha ninja, but he would help Rukia, but not Ichigo because Rukia is one of Naruto's best friends. Note. The Naruto vs Hinamori fight will be very intense and probably goes on for almost the whole chapter. Please do not complain about Hinamori's strength. New quiz alert. This quiz only makes up a minuscule amount in my mind, meaning I won't always agree with the option with the highest votes. Question. Which would you prefer? A. 1 Bankai. B. 2 Bankais. C. No Bankai and Visor. D. No Bankai and Espada. Naruto entered the division to see Hinamori, a good friend of his from the academy which he hadn't seen in months. Hey there Hinamori, you look a little tired, Naruto said. Ah hi there Naruto, and Aizen Taiko. I just woke up. I was training with some new Kido spells that Aizen Taiko lended me the other day. Hinamori replied, rubbing her eyes. Well Hinamori, Naruto-kun here is going to join the 5th division. I want to get a good grasp of his skills first, so could you two please spar with each other? Aizen said. Naruto-kun, Hinamori is a very smart and strategic Shinigami. It'll be one of the toughest fights you've ever had. Oh, by the way, Hinamori is the 5th seat. Aizen finished, surprising Naruto a bit. Thank you for the compliment Aizen Taiko, but I am not as smart and strategic as you say I am. Hinamori said, blushing slightly at Aizen's flattering compliments. Nice job Hinamori, a 5th seater already. You've beaten me, Renji and Rukia, but I'm not sure about Matsumoto or Kira yet. But don't underestimate me in this spar, I might just beat you. Naruto grinned. X. Listen to 8th Commandment, Sonata Arctica, the best song to with to whilst reading this fight. The spar started and Naruto drew both his Zanpakutos, holding both in a cross-like formation. Hinamori started by unsheathing her sword and holding it with both hands in front of her. Naruto made the first move by rushing in with one Zanpakuto pointing towards Hinamori, and the other blade was being held parallel to him. As he neared Hinamori, he slashed at the right with his second Zanpakuto and stabbed at the left with his first Zanpakuto, not allowing Hinamori to dodge to the left or right, and then he ran in, aiming a double kick at Hinamori's stomach whilst throwing his swords, and yelling, "Sword art, spinning blades." Hinamori was a little bit surprised at Naruto's strategy, but quickly reacted by dodging Naruto's double kick by back-flipping backwards and slashing her Zanpakuto multiple times where both of Naruto's Zanpakutos appeared, and reflected both back at Naruto. This surprised Naruto, but he reacted quick enough to catch the swords by the hilt, sheath one sword and use ice armor to strengthen his defense. During Naruto's concentration of his ice armor, he failed to realize that whilst he was doing this, Hinamori had been chanting a long line of words, getting ready for a Kido spell. Naruto suddenly realized that the sky had darkened and bolts of lightning were being released by clouds, and then absorbed by other clouds. Knowing what was going to happen to him, he quickly shunpo-ed towards Hinamori. Who was oblivious to what Naruto was doing? Hinamori suddenly cried, "Hado! Thunderstorm!" And a large bolt of lightning quickly traveled towards Naruto, homing in on him as he shunpo-ed closer and closer to Hinamori. Once he was in range, he quickly bear-hugged Hinamori and sharing the pain between them both. Once the bolt dissipated, Naruto jumped back to get some distance. Gathering Ryotsu, Naruto shouted, "Naruto Hado!" Combination of two flames, and a red and blue ball appeared in both his hands and he fused them both together, creating a large purple ball that hovered above his right hand. Running towards Hinamori, he shunpo-ed diagonally occasionally to confuse Hinamori and give him the illusion of multiple Narutos. Sensing the great power in the purple ball Naruto was holding, Hinamori performed her own Kido, Hado, Fire Blast, and with a yell, flames appeared around Hinamori's right hand and suddenly spiraled inwards, also making a destructive ball of fire that could probably match Naruto's ball. Seeing Naruto stop moving and rearing his arm, Hinamori knew he was going to fire his attack, so she fired hers. A purple beam erupted from Naruto's right hand, and a red beam protruded from Hinamori's right hand, meeting right at the middle of the two fighters, and both colored beams battled each other for dominance. After minutes of the battle for dominance between both fighters, the two Shinigami had the same idea and started generating more Ryotsu, aiming to combine it with their already lethal beam. Naruto style. Swirling Tornado, Hado. Raging Blizzard. And after both fighters yelling their attacks, Hinamori's beam suddenly expanded and became purple, whilst Naruto's beam was being absorbed by the tornado that was surrounding him, fending off the beam that Hinamori was controlling. Slowly, Naruto managed to enhance the tornado's spinning capabilities by pouring in more Ryotsu and directing it to go towards Hinamori, and in the process, slowly break down her beam. Hinamori realized that Naruto would be able to injure her if she didn't move, so she unsheathed her Zanpakuto and jumped, still controlling the beam with one hand and directing it to attack the top of the tornado. Naruto sensed this, and immediately jumped and propelled the tornado outwards, breaking Hinamori's beam. He drew Tsukiyomi and pointed the tip towards Hinamori, whilst gathering Ryotsu there. Seeing Naruto do this, Hinamori poured a lot of her Ryotsu into her Zanpakuto as well, evenly matching Naruto's sword. Using Ryotsu to propel her towards the ground, She readied her blade and saw Naruto do the same, and yelled, "Finish her," whilst Naruto cried, "Secret skill! Whirlwind stab!" And the two powerful shinigamis clashed once again, neither giving up. Naruto kept trying to stab and slash at Hinamori, who was doing the same towards Naruto. You could see sparks flying everywhere as Naruto and Hinamori's swords kept meeting each other in midair. Countless amounts of swings with each of their swords were directed at their opposition, but none of them got through. Slowly, both fighters started emitting a glow of Ryotsu around their bodies, and as both Ryotsus clashed together, it formed a light blue circle which slowly expanded and created a giant ball of Ryotsu. At this time, Naruto and Hinamori realized this and escaped the ball, just before the ball exploded outwards, sending Ryotsu flying. Seeing this as a chance to unleash his Shikai, Naruto yelled, "Incinerate with your mighty rays, Amaterasu!" Just a moment after Naruto released his Shikai, his Ryotsu suddenly increased several-fold, sending out wave after wave of intense Ryotsu at Hinamori, which she had to dodge. Hinamori back-flipped and dived to each side to avoid Naruto's waves of Ryotsu as she fired multiple shots of red flame cannon during dodging, and as the small red balls of fire neared Naruto, they suddenly merged into one giant fireball, causing Naruto to turn his attention to the threat. Flame art. Potent black fire. Naruto yelled and a stream of steaming black fire erupted from his blade, shooting towards the large fireball and dissipated the fireball whilst still going towards Hinamori. Hinamori had no choice but to unleash her Shikai as well. "Repel, Tobium!" Hinamori shouted as her Zanpakuto transformed into a gigantic ball of Ryotsu and she fired it at Naruto's stream of black fire, immediately spreading the fire back at Naruto and Hinamori's giant ball. Naruto saw this and cursed. His own attack was being repelled against him, and was coming down quickly, so he had to shunpo everywhere to dodge it. Secret skill. Element fusion. Naruto yelled and made another potent black fire, but this time, he contained it in his left hand and slowly pushed it in Amaterasu, giving the sword an aura of black around its perimeter. Time to try a new technique, Naruto thought. Flame art. Fire stream, and a stream of fire burst out of Naruto's left arm and has directed it towards the ground, so he could get propelled into the air. Secret skill. Fusion slash. Naruto yelled his follow-up skill for the element fusion. In the air, he readied his blade and once his opponent's ball of Ryotsu came close enough, he slashed with all the power he could muster. The two forces collided and on one side, you saw a blonde boy slashing a Zanpakuto covered in black at a ball of Ryotsu, and on the other side, you see a young girl trying to push her Ryotsu ball towards the sword with the black aura. Finally, Naruto's sword got pushed away from the Ryotsu ball, and he could only hope that his ice armor would shield him from the majority of the impact. The giant ball got closer and closer until it was at point-blank range, and then it exploded towards Naruto, not harming its user. Naruto was covered with multiple explosions around his body, and he could only hope he had enough strength left to fight. Destroy everything with your winds, Tsukiyomi! Naruto yelled and unsheathed his second Zanpakuto, and creating a small, but strong invisible wind barrier that protected himself from Hinamori's devastating attack. When all the attacks vanished, Naruto saw Hinamori panting slightly, holding another ball of Ryotsu in her hand. That ball must be her Shikai. Naruto thought and he coughed out some blood. The wind barrier only shielded him slightly. Hinamori lifted her head and saw Naruto coughing out blood. Widening her eyes, she tried to find out how Naruto wasn't unconscious from her Shikai. Thinking back, she remembered that a few seconds after the explosion started, she sensed a powerful force was lessening the explosion's power. He still must have a lot up his sleeve. I'd better be careful. I didn't think he'd be so powerful and resilient, she thought. Naruto stood up straight after coughing out the blood that built up in his mouth. He charged towards Hinamori, both Zanpakutos drawn and looked ready to fight. Hinamori turned the ball of Ryotsu back into her sword and then yelled, "Blade multiply!" And her sword doubled into her other hand, surprising Naruto. The two then started fighting in the art of Zanjutsu. Naruto went for a double horizontal slash, which was blocked by one of Hinamori's swords, and then she retaliated with a leg sweep kick that Naruto jumped and vertically sliced downwards, causing a small gash on Hinamori's left arm. She ignored the injury and focused to battling. Naruto. She slashed at Naruto from the right and then held her other sword sideways and punched Naruto directly in the stomach, sending him backwards a few meters. Spitting out blood once again, Naruto yelled, "Wind art! Pressurized spin!" and stuck his swords out and started spinning violently with the wind that suddenly appeared around him. He then spun towards Hinamori, blocking her relentless sword swings. However, he didn't anticipate Hinamori jumping to find the eye of the tornado and then fired off a red flame cannon towards Naruto, who was at the center. Sensing the ball of Ryotsu that headed towards the eye of the storm, Naruto then jumped into the air and then manipulated the tornado so that it would surround Hinamori and blind her. Once it was around her, he yelled, "Naruto Hado!" Combination of two flames, and the tornado was suddenly alight with purple flames. Knowing she couldn't breathe if she didn't put the put out, she proceeded to spin rapidly in the tornado and send Ryotsu out of her body, nullifying the tornado and the fire, and at the same time, sending it flying towards Naruto. The flaming bits of wind that flew towards Naruto surprised so much that it stunned him for a second, which was all that was needed to injure him and also sending him flying. Using Ryotsu to break his fall, Naruto ignored that fact that his left leg was burnt badly and just charged towards Hinamori again, both swords in each hand, and started hacking away at Hinamori, drawing strength from the pain coming from his leg. Suddenly, an ordinary-looking sword stopped both fighters from attacking each other. "Ah, Naruto-kun, Hinamori, that is enough. I've gained a good grasp of your skills, Naruto-kun, and I feel that you would fit in this division quite well. Hinamori, your use of Kido was excellent, and your Zanjutsu and strategy was also fantastic. You have improved dramatically since the last time you sparred. Well done, both of you." Aizen said. "Now you both should go to the 4th division, your injuries aren't too bad, but they will be if you don't treat them." After that was said, Aizen Shunpo ed off. "That was a good fight, Naruto. There aren't many people who can withstand multiple attacks from my Shikai," Hinamori said. "You too, Hinamori. I knew I'd have to use both my Shikais, but I didn't expect to use so many of my original techniques. Speaking of original techniques, I see you've made quite a few powerful ones." Naruto said. "Thank you, Naruto. Your techniques were also well thought out and powerful," Hinamori said. "We should be going to the 4th division now." Meanwhile, in a dark room, 3 figures were quietly discussing their plans. Young Naruto-kun has a large arsenal of techniques that seem to only be used by him and no one else. He would make a great ally. Aizen said. "Are you really certain that those attacks he used were powerful?" Jin said. "Of course, you should know, Jin. After all, you and Tusen were watching on the roof silently," Aizen said. "He has great potential. Under my command, I shall slowly train and manipulate him into joining us for our cause." "Of course, Aizen, as long as he sees the light," Tusen said. "Since there are many new techniques shown in this chapter, I will be doing another description set of them. Also, I need to know when I should make Naruto a seated officer, and what seat would he be. Please review or PM me this." Hado. Thunderstorm rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryotsu cost. High description. A technique that is used by Hinamori Momo when she is sparring with Naruto. This technique calls upon a storm and manipulates the lightning to attack the user's opponent. Hado. Fire blast rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryotsu cost. High description. A technique that is used by Hinamori Momo when she is sparring with Naruto. This technique creates fire and manipulates the fire to attack the user's opponent. Also, this attack can cause burns if you are hit with it. Hado. Raging blizzard rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryotsu cost. High description. A technique that is used by Hinamori Momo when she is sparring with Naruto. This technique creates ice and makes the ice attack the user's opponent. This technique can also be used to blind your opponent. Finisher rank. Seated officer danger. Greater Ryotsu cost. High description. A finishing move that is Hinamori's equivalent to Naruto's secret skill, Whirlwind Stab. Flame art. Fire stream rank. Lower seated officer danger. Medium. Ryotsu cost. Medium description. A stream of fire that can be used to propel the user in any direction. This technique can also be used for attacking. This attack can only be used during the Shikai of Amaterasu. Secret skill. Fusion/rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. Naruto's strongest technique seen so far. This technique can only be executed successfully if the user uses the secret skill. Element fusion first. Blade multiply rank. Seated officer danger. Greater. Ryatsu cost. High description. A technique that is unique to Hinamori Momo. It is used to make copy of a sword to combat dual sword users like Naruto. Chapter 17. Hey everyone. Thank you all for the reviews, especially the extremely long ones. Quiz. Question. Which would you prefer? A. 1 Bankai 1. B. 2 Bankais 4C. No Bankai and Visored 3D. No Bankai and Arankar 1. To Valavarayan. About Rasengan and summoning? Well, Naruto can't use either of them, but there is the Scray skill. Whirlwind. Stab that has taken place of the Rasengan. And I guess there will be no summoning, because Naruto is technically dead, in terms of chakra. To OBSERVER01. I know Yamamoto's Shikai felt like a Bankai, but I don't want Naruto currently to be like Yamamoto in terms of power. Yamamoto is the leader of all Shinigami. He is the strongest. Naruto has more potential, but it will be gradual. To Sensual Kidney 13. Thank you for pointing out mistakes. I will be more careful about my grammar and I will go in depth and make them more real. To everyone else. I know that Tsukiyomi is a guy and Amaterasu is a girl, but I swapped their genders. Also, Tsukiyomi is actually spelled Tsukuyomi, but I think Tsuki also means moon. Naruto-kun, I have a very important mission for you, Aizen said. What is the mission, Aizen Taiko? Naruto asked, missing the devious look in his eyes. Your objective is to guard a living town called Karakura Town. You will have vice captain authority during your mission, and I believe that one of your friends, Kuchiki Rukia, is there. However, lately there are more humans with highly concentrated Ryatsu, and we need you to investigate, Aizen said. Also, Rukia has missed quite a few reports regarding the hollow situation around town. Although they are disappearing, something seems off. I accept the mission, Aizen Taiko. Do I have any allies for this mission? Naruto asked. No, you don't. But if you get to meet up with Rukia, by all means, you can team up with her. However, if you find that she is not following our orders, please restrain her and bring her back to Soul Society where she will be judged upon her actions. Aizen replied. Also, you'll be attending the local high school for cover. The paperwork and uniform is ready, and you'll just need to pick it up. Form Hinamori. Here, Naruto, take this hell butterfly. It will guide you through the door you create to the real world. Good luck on your mission. Yes, Aizen Taiko. Naruto said and walked off, leaving Aizen to his own dark thoughts. My plan is slowly coming to fruition. All I need is the Haugoku. Naruto was quite angry after that meeting with Aizen. He seemed to imply that Rukia is a traitor to Seirei. I'd better look into this when I get to this Karakura town. He began walking to Hinamori's office to pick up the necessary documents and uniform for his new undercover mission, but coincidentally, Hinamori bumped into him. I am very sorry, Naruto-kun. Aizen Taiko told me to find you and give you the paperwork and uniform for your mission. Please follow me to my office, she said, and led the way to a medium-sized building that was painted in white and had the 5th Division symbol on the door. Here is the paperwork and uniform for your mission. Good luck with your mission and be careful, Hinamori said, and went back to doing some paperwork. Thanks, Hinamori. See ya later. Naruto said and headed towards an empty space so he could make a door leading to the real world, with a hell butterfly on his shoulder to guide him. The tunnel was a dark place. There was only a reflection of light on the ground, which signified his Ryatsu. However, no matter how dark it was in front of him, he could still see the black butterfly that was leading the way. He kept walking and walking until he identified a speck of white at the end of the tunnel. Must be the exit. I'll have to quickly find a secluded place to wear my Gigai, he thought. The white at the end of the tunnel began growing bigger and bigger, until it enveloped Naruto, blinding him and transporting him to another dimension. The real world, or to be more exact, Karakura town. The doors opened to a grassy field that was being blown by the wind that had manifested in this part of the town. Naruto stepped out of the gate, and felt the cool gentle wind that was blowing on his face. The gate closed up after he stepped out and disappeared. Well then, I better get my Gigai on and begin my mission, Naruto said wore his Gigai, which was wearing a black t-shirt and dark blue pants. Meanwhile in the Kurosaki household, Isshin Kurosaki was busy tending to his son, Ichigo Kurosaki's wounds that he mysteriously obtained in only one day. One day, he had multiple chest wounds that were at least a few centimeters deep and what looked like claw marks on his back. It wasn't the injuries that surprised Isshin, as Ichigo would often get bullied at school for having orange hair, but the animosity and extent of his current injuries was strange. Usually Ichigo would just come home with a few bruises on his body and maybe some cuts from knuckle busters. And even sometimes a cracked rib or a fractured limb, or in the worst case scenario, stabbed or slashed in the arm with a knife. But the stab marks on his chest didn't match any type of knife mark Isshin had seen in his entire life. There is nothing that could cause Ichigo this much injury. The only time I got an injury like this was when I was still a Shinigami. He must have gotten this injury for a Manos Grande. I'm positive about this. Stupid son, why do you have to pick a fight with a Manos Grande? His eyes widened at the thought and then, quick as lightning, his eyes went back to normal again. It must be this Kuchiki Rukia. She must have awakened Ichigo's Ryotsu and caused him to turn into a Shinigami as well. Not to mention the enormous Ryotsu that suddenly appeared just moments before. I think Seireiti is up to something. Naruto was busy walking about Karakura town in his Gigai, trying to find Karakura's hotel, so he could lie down and have a rest. Deep in thought, Naruto tried to sense the Ryotsu of the town. This town seems to be full of Ryotsu. And there are 3 giant Ryotsu capacities, whilst there are an extra of 5 others that have high Ryotsu. I can recognize Rukia's Ryotsu signature, but the other 7 are completely unknown. This must be why there are so many hollows. He was so busy thinking, that he didn't notice that he was about to bump into someone. Only after the initial shock, he realized that he'd walked into someone and they were on the ground. I am very sorry for bumping into you while I was walking, Naruto said and he bowed. No, it's all right. It was my fault for not noticing you either. The orange-haired girl said. You must be new around here since I haven't seen you before. I'm Inoue Orihime. Yes, I just moved here from to go to Karakura High. I used to live with my cousin. My name's Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto replied. Do you know where Karakura's hotel is? I have a room there, but I don't know where the hotel is. Wow. This is such a coincidence. Naruto raised his eyebrow. I live at the hotel. Of course I can show you where it is, Naruto-kun, Inoue said, surprising Naruto at her hyperactiveness and kindness to strangers. Thank you, Inoue-san, Naruto said and followed the cheerful girl down the streets to the hotel. Rukia was scared. A few minutes ago, she was just worried about Ichigo's wounds from the Manos Grande that fired a Sero towards Ichigo. But now, she felt the Ryotsu of her classmate and one of her best friends, Uzumaki Naruto. Could it be that he is here to help me, to investigate the suspicious activity from the hollows, or is he here to punish me for giving me Ryotsu to Ichigo and making him a false Shinigami? I just hope he can forgive me for my sins. Naruto was cooking. Yes, the Uzumaki Naruto of the 5th Division. The one that came close to defeating Ikaku, the 3rd seat in the 11th Division, and Hinamori Momo, a girl who was well known for her famed Kido attacks, and he was cooking for his new friend Inoue to be exact. She had led him towards the hotel and even directed him to the exact location of his room, but once they were there, Naruto could see that Inoue was visibly tired from the excursion she took Naruto on, and Naruto invited her to stay over at his place for dinner. Inoue hesitated at first, but agreed because she was tired, and also wanted to know her new friend more. Naruto was making some kind of stew that tasted like curry but had lots of vegetables in it, especially potatoes. He quickly sliced up some chicken fillet and put it in the stew, allowing it to cook slowly, and absorb the flavors of the stew into the meat, making it tastier. Carrying 2 large bowls of stew, he walked over the dinner table and poured some fine sake into 2 small cups. Dinner time, Inoue. Wake up and taste my beautiful stew. Yes. Naruto was very proud of his stew. As Naruto pulled both chairs out from under the dining table, Inoue woke up and was confused. Did you say something about dinner, Naruto? Inoue said, rubbing her eyes to get the sleep out of them. Yep, dinner's ready. Naruto exclaimed loudly, and Inoue immediately ran towards the table, slightly drooling at the corners of her mouth. I take it you're very hungry? Naruto asked, sweat dropping at Inoue. Digging into the stew, Inoue replied with two thumbs up, signifying her extreme liking for the stew, and Naruto grinned at his cooking abilities. So Naruto, are you going to go to school? Inoue said. Of course, I'm starting Karakura High tomorrow, Naruto replied. I could show you around Karakura High since I am a student there. It seems that fate wants us to be together. Inoue joked and Naruto laughed. Well, it seems to be getting late. I'm going to head back to my room. It's number 365, so meet me there tomorrow morning at 8, okay? Sure. Thanks for showing me where the hotel is, or else I'd still be outside trying to figure out the way here, Naruto said and laughed. Bye. Ichigo woke abruptly when he felt pain on his left cheek. Damn it, Rukia. Why do you have to wake me up today by just your bloody shoe at me? Arg. What's wrong with you? Ever since that Manos Grande battle, you've been on edge. Mind telling me what's on your mind? Ichigo scowled. It's not about that battle with that gigantic hollow that fired a Sero. It's just that I've been sensing this strange Ryotsu signature ever since yesterday, and it's even stronger than mine. Rukia said, not completely lying, but didn't want to worry Ichigo, or make him go after Naruto. Who cares? It's not like I can't beat him. I've beaten all sorts of hollows that you said to be strong. Ichigo bragged, not wanting to believe this strange signature was stronger than he is. Ichigo. You've got to realize that just because it have an above-average Ryotsu capacity, it doesn't mean you're automatically the best Shinigami there is. Rukia shouted as she was worried for Ichigo that Naruto may be here to exterminate him. Whatever, shorty. Let's just not be late for school, Ichigo said whilst getting dressed. I'll meet you downstairs for some breakfast. It's already 7:30, so hurry up, Ichigo said and hastened downstairs, not wanting Rukia to kick him in the shin for calling her a shorty. 8 a.m. Naruto arrived at the room 365 and knocked. He waited patiently for Inoue to answer. He was wearing a blue tie and a white shirt, with blue pants and black shoes. He also had a school bag on, which had his school books, but more importantly, it contained a phone to contact Seirei, an ornament which allowed him to turn into Shinigami form at will, and a scroll for Rukia once he had made contact. I hope Rukia is going to Karakura High as well for cover. I still don't know why there is a Ryotsu capacity larger than Rukia's. I hope she didn't do anything stupid, Naruto thought. The door opened, and standing in front of Naruto was Inoue in casual clothes. Oh, you're on time. Good morning, Naruto, Inoue said with a small bow, and she locked the door behind her. Damn it. I thought Karakura High didn't allow casual clothes. Grr. Naruto thought. So why aren't you in uniform, Inoue? Well, Karakura High allows students to come in casual clothes, but a lot of people still wear the uniform, Inoue replied. Come on, let's go. Oh well, at least I won't look like a total loser wearing the uniform. Ichigo and Rukia were walking towards school. Ichigo noticed that Rukia kept looking down and deep in thought, trying to bring her out of her stupor. He asked, Hey Rukia, are there any hollow orders from Soul Society? No, there isn't, Ichigo. Rukia said. Come on, let's go to class. I don't want to be late, strawberry. Rukia kicked him in the shin. And that's for calling me a shorty before. And she ran towards school, not knowing that one of her best friends would be starting school there too. In class 9:30 a.m., good morning class. There is a new student today, so please be extra polite to him to show how great Karakura High is. Please come in, Naruto-kun. The teacher said, and a blonde boy came in. He had spiky blonde hair, and the deepest blue eyes. Please introduce yourself to the class, Naruto-kun. Yes, miss. Naruto said with a fake smile. Hi everyone, my name's Uzumaki Naruto and I like ramen and getting better at things I do. I dislike arrogant people who think the world revolves around them and assassins. At this point, the rest of the students were wondering why Naruto hated assassins. My goal in life is to be the best Shinigami there is. Thank you, Naruto-kun. The teacher looked around the classroom. Please sit next to Kurosaki Ichigo, the one with the orange hair. Naruto spotted him immediately and his eyes narrowed a bit. So that's the one. Ichigo, please raise your hand so Naruto knows. Where you are. The teacher said, and Ichigo lazily raised his hand, dropping it once Naruto walked towards his direction. He noticed that he was seated in front of Rukia and he let a small smile grace his lips. Hey there Uzumaki-san. My name's Kuchiki Rukia, Rukia said. Like you didn't know before. I hope we can be good friends. I came to Karakura High a few weeks ago, so I know how you feel to be a new student. Rukia said, offering her hand for him to shake. Naruto looked at the hand which said, talk later, act like students. And shook it, smudging the ink so no one else could read it. Thanks, Kuchiki-san. Naruto said and sat down, focusing on the teacher. Ichigo cast a worried look towards both Rukia and the new student. He was just suspicious about Rukia quickly making friends with the new kid. Rukia previously suggested that secrecy was best, so why was she attracting attention to herself? Damn it, what is she planning? End chapter 18. Hello everyone, I'm sorry for not updating sooner, but I had. Rinnegan Naruto. Dual ceiling and the darkness within occupying me. Note. I have received countless messages about the quiz, and I'm sure that you will all be happy to know that I am going to add the 2 Bankai plus Visored, Arankar, option, so anyone who previously voted for the combination between Bankai and Hollow forms will be added. Quiz. Question. Which would you prefer? A. 1 Bankai 2. B. 2 Bankais 6C. No Bankai and Visored 5D. No Bankai and Arankar 2E. 2 Bankai and Visored 1F. 2 Bankai and Arankar 1G. 1 Bankai and Visored 3. H. 1 Bankai and Arankar 1. School finished and an extremely relieved Naruto exited the building, spiking his Ryotsu so that Rukia could sense it, but not Ichigo, as the orange-haired student had horrid control over his powers. He then hastened to his apartment, waiting for one of his best friends to talk with him. Not long after Naruto got into the Karakura Hotel, Rukia arrived, looking a bit flustered and nervous. Sit Rukia. Naruto motioned to a chair. Now what's going on? Start from the beginning. Okay Naruto. It all started with the invisible hollow that started to massacre the streets of Karakura town. Even my Ryotsu sensing skills couldn't find it, because of Ichigo's Ryotsu overflowing my senses. I located it, and tried every attack in my arsenal, but it was extremely resilient to Hado spells, and my Zanjutsu isn't as good as yours or Renji's, so all I could do was dodge. She paused to breathe. Then Ichigo showed up and I protected him from the hollow's bite. It was then that I realized it was his Ryotsu overflowing the town, and I decided to awaken his own Shinigami powers by giving him a portion of my own Ryotsu, allowing him to unlock his latent potential inside of him. However, he took all of my Ryotsu at that time, so now I'm stuck in a Gigai which has extremely low Ryotsu, only enough for low-level spells. So that's the full story. Naruto pondered her tale. Aizen Taiko told me to bring you back to Seirei if you weren't following orders. This brought a gasp to Rukia's mouth, as she knew the hidden meaning behind Naruto's sentence. But since your assignment was to slay the hollows in Karakura town, the mission didn't state any conditions, did it? Rukia nodded. Therefore, you can just tell them you're simply using an easier and less tiring method to get rid of the hollows. You just need to write a report that fills in the holes. Thank you Naruto. Naruto was caught in a combination between a hug and a friendly tackle. Meanwhile, Aizen, Jin and Tusen were silently creeping towards Council 46. Ready Jin? Tusen? Aizen asked. Yes. The two replied as Aizen released his Shikai silently and cast an illusion over the three of them, waiting for someone to go in or come out of the room so they could sneak in. Fortunately for them, it was instantaneous. The moment Aizen used the illusion, Yamamoto Su Taiko came out of room 46, walking slowly with his cane. The three slowly walked inside the room and then Aizen removed the illusion, surprising the council members, but that was only for a split second, as the moment the illusion was cancelled, the three quickly drew their swords and slaughtered every living person, besides themselves, in the building. After the massacre, Aizen then commanded his sword to cast an illusion over the whole building, seeming as nothing happened and that everyone was normal. Jin, Tusen, a few more weeks and we will be gods, Aizen cackled. The next morning, Ichigo found himself peacefully waking up. No shoes or other hard items thrown at him by Rukia, who was sleeping in the cupboard. Ichigo opened the cupboard to find Rukia peacefully sleeping with a smile on her face. He softly shook her head to wake her up. "What's with you, Rukia?" Maybe she's on her period. Arg. What time is it, Ichigo?" Rukia asked sharply. "Back to normal." Ichigo sighed. "It's nearly 9. We've got to hurry to school." Rukia didn't reply, as she had already gotten dressed and jumped out the window. At school was basically the same as every other day, but in class, Naruto was a bit fidgety. I hope Seirei stopped chasing after Rukia with that last report that was sent. It should be peaceful there. But why does Aizen Taiko seem slightly suspicious of something? Just after the thought Naruto had, the room started to shake violently as they experienced an earthquake. Shit. It's an extremely strong Manos Grande causing this earthquake. I've got to go fight it or else human lives will be at stake. Naruto shouted mentally as he ran out of the classroom and then transformed into his Shinigami state, flash stepping towards the shock of Ryotsu. Meanwhile, Ichigo and Rukia were heading towards school when they both felt a disturbance in the air. "It's a giant hollow. Quick, Ichigo. If we don't hurry now, people might die." Rukia panicked. She knew that Naruto would probably be there when they arrived, but the more help he got the better, right? And the concentration of this Manos Grande's Ryotsu was much higher than the one back at Seirei training grounds. The people ran from the invisible force that was destroying buildings. They estimated the invisible thing to be at least as tall as a skyscraper, as some people could see a disturbance in the air, slightly making out a figure. However, it was most likely too late for some people, as the Manos Grande had finally opened its eyes and was aware of its surroundings, licking its lips sadistically as it picked up crowds of people and shoved them into its mouth, licking the blood off its fingers in joy. Fortunately, Naruto arrived to prevent any more further deaths. He shunpo-ed swiftly and rounded up all the remaining people and deposited them far away from the hollow, allowing himself to fight at his full potential. Sword art. Twin sword blast. Naruto quickly unsheathed his swords and let loose 2 projectiles that promptly hit the Manos Grande in the chest, making it focus all of its attention on Naruto. Gra! It screamed as it clawed at where Naruto was standing. Shunpo. Naruto Hado. Combination of 2 flames. Naruto noted that this hollow had slow reflexes, so he'd more likely be able to dodge most attacks. The condensed purple ball of flames hit the gigantic hollow directly in the chest, causing a slightly burn on the skin, but nothing more. Damn. Its skin must be rock hard. To only cause a slight burn with a combination Hado is astounding. Naruto muttered as he dodged and parried the incoming strikes. It was then that Ichigo and Rukia made it to the scene. To Ichigo's surprise, the new student, Naruto, was fighting head-on with the biggest hollow he had ever seen. But when he looked at Rukia, he spotted no signs of surprise whatsoever. "You knew?" It was more of a statement than a question, but nevertheless, Rukia answered. "Yes. He is one of my best friends. He's stronger than me and stronger than you. Don't interfere. You'll only get in his way," Rukia said. "Watch him. He fights like a true Shinigami." During their short conversation, Naruto had been ferociously cutting at basically the same place, each time slicing the Manos Grande at the same place, causing progressive amounts of pain with each slash. But the Manos had started to fight a bit smarter. It blocked, it parried and it counter-attacked, causing Naruto to lose blood and also stamina from dodging. "Damn it, it's the limiter that's causing me to lose. I will take this as a training session. I will not ask them to remove the limiter." Naruto thought fiercely as he subdued the temptation of asking Seirei to remove the limiter on his chest. He wanted to surpass his own limits, to get stronger every day, and this was one way to get stronger. Naruto Hado. Flaming icicles. The icicles that were lit on fire rained down upon the Manos Grande, causing shallow stabbing wounds, but most icicles suck onto the hollow's skin. The Manos took no notice of the tiny projectiles stuck in him and just aimed a blow at Naruto, which he dodged at the last second using a shunpo. By this time, the icicles that punctured the Manos were already melted from being set aflame, which was part of Naruto's plan. Hado. Blue lightning annihilation. Naruto directed the lightning towards the Manos, and using the water that covered the hollow as a lightning rod to increase the power of the lightning itself. The result was the Manos Grande experiencing its skin being scorched by the intense power of the lightning. The giant hollow let out a screech of pain before starting to open its mouth to unleash its most powerful attack, the Sero, a blast of so highly concentrate Ryotsu that it changes color to blood red. No, I mustn't let it fire its Sero, was Naruto's thoughts as he started to unleash the two most powerful attacks in his sealed Shinigami state. Secret skill. Element fusion. Naruto combined a hado of flame and ice on each sword, expelling a glow of red and blue. Secret skill. Double whirlwind stab. It was his all-or-nothing attack. An attack that focused so much on offense that the adrenaline that was flowing inside his body increased, and took away every bit of pain he was feeling. Naruto's stance changed. It now comprised of his two swords side by side, not touching each other, but close enough for the glows to mix in the middle, causing a slight purplish color. Letting out a war cry, Naruto used Shunpo to expel Ryotsu from his feet to give him a huge kick off the ground, his body spinning and headed towards the Manos Grande's big mask. On the sidelines, Ichigo was awed at the sheer power of Naruto. Rukia was also surprised. The limiter wasn't removed, but he could still call upon a power that is stronger than a Sero. Just how much does he train? The spinning Naruto closed in on the hollow's face. The Manos Grande tried to lift its mouth up to direct the Sero at the incoming threat, but it found it was stuck in the heavy spiritual pressure that Naruto was expelling during his attack. In the time span of a second, Naruto vanished and then appeared behind the Manos Grande, sending blood spewing out of its head and shatter mask before vanishing into the gates of hell. However, Naruto just dropped to the ground, not having enough energy to at least land softly. Rukia immediately ran towards to heal him, but Ichigo just stood there in total shock. He defeated the biggest hollow I've ever seen. The power I felt from it was huge, yet this random guy just comes out of nowhere and kills it. I better ask Rukia for answers, Ichigo thought with slight jealousy. Meanwhile, in an alleyway, a person with black hair and glasses stared at the enigma, which was Naruto. So I was right. You are an extremely strong Shinigami. But you cannot match the power of the Quincy X Seirei. Give a message to Kuchiki Byakuya and Aburai Renji. They have a new mission to complete, the retrieval of Kuchiki Rukia, the fake Council 46 member said as Aizen chuckled at the scene. XXXTBCXXX end. Thanks for reading and my apologizes for the long update.